Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Talk with a Vulnerable Angel and Friends. I am your host, the Vulnerable Angel, Dominica May. If you're like me, you might be feeling disconnected from meaningful connections. Sometimes this can cause us to instinctively shut down and hide ourselves from the world when what we really need is to reach out and foster those connections. That's why I created this show, where my friends and I get together and have deep and vulnerable conversations in the hope that it inspires others to go out and have similar conversations in the world. Joining me today are my friends Mike, an improviser based in New York City, and Sharad, a writer in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Meanwhile, I'm streaming from Oakland, California. You want to say hi, guys?
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Sorry, just as you started this, my cat decided to go diving into our guest bed, and she's literally inside the pillowcase looking for something. And so I hear this. Grr, grr, grr. I don't know if it's picking up on here, but it's kind of loud.
Have you been eating any cookies in bed? Is that why she's been foraging around?
Maybe. Yeah, in the guest bed.
Yeah, especially, of course. Where else would you do it? Yeah.
I'm not going to do it in my own bed. Dumb. Dominica, I love this. Hold on.
Look?
I'm still getting used to this
My
reverse camera.
I
love
my angel
outfit.
look. Yeah, so I'm going to kind of explain a little bit about what's going on here.
Please.
This is the fifth episode of this that I've done, but I was previously calling it Let's Get Vulnerable with Dominica May. So I just recently renamed it Real Talk with a Vulnerable Angel.
Why did you rename it?
Friends.
Tell us.
Yeah, I have a whole spiel. Okay, I have notes. We'll see how we go. All right, so I decided I would come clean about why I changed the name right at the top of this episode, which will also go into what inspired me to do the show in the first place. So I want to start off by talking about how I've been trying to learn to love all of the parts of myself, even the parts that I find embarrassing or shameful, the things that I feel like I have to hide from the world so that other people will accept me. The thing is, I don't think you can properly receive love from others with that mindset. If you can't love those parts of yourself, how can you accept that someone else might love you, including those parts of yourself? So these are the lessons that I'm trying to learn from my last failed relationship. Because I believe it failed because both of us were too afraid to share our whole selves with each other, afraid of being rejected by the other one, but not recognizing that we actually appreciated each other more when we got to see their more authentic side. I can recognize now in hindsight that he adored and trusted me more when I showed up as my whole self, just as I valued him more when he shared his more vulnerable side, the stuff that he kept hidden from others because he didn't want people to see his perceived failures. I believe that he wasn't able to properly receive my love because he didn't see himself as worthy of it. That's me paraphrasing things that he told me when we were together. When I directly asked him questions like, what holds you back from having a committed relationship? And how do you receive love? I was looking for answers to figure out how I could show him I wanted to be with him for the long haul. So let's speed forward a little. Not quite a year ago, we both got in our heads and self-sabotaged the relationship instead of being able to ask each other for clarity and understanding. I didn't think he was going to offer me commitment, so I said some things that he misinterpreted and then he ghosted me. I've been trying to heal and improve myself ever since. My history with that man is so complicated that I wrote a super long memoir that I still need to edit and publish. So I'm only going to touch on the relevant stuff for this live stream show. So My feelings for him are or have been a jumbled mix of love, attachment, and addiction. Getting ghosted leaves you with no closure and kind of amps up the addictive qualities of the relationship because you're essentially having to go cold turkey on a dopamine fix. I don't handle that well. So October was an especially challenging month for me. And this particular ex happened to be live streaming himself regularly that month, which I found myself drawn to. At first, I only intended to watch him. By the middle of the month, when he had only one viewer chatting with him, I felt a little bit sorry for him and decided I'd try and show him some support so he knew at least someone else was watching. But with the way that we had last left things, we'd had other conversations with each other after he ghosted me. I didn't think he'd want to hear from me. So I logged into another account I had with a pseudonym. But since I'd sent him a few emails from that other account about 10 years ago, with his awareness that it was me, I didn't know if he'd recognized the name on that account. So I changed the display name to the first thing I thought of, and that was Angel. Because Angel was the icon that I used on that account was a statue of an angel. There was no deeper meaning to it, though it kind of feels like it was now because I was basically dead to him, and we turn into angels when we die and go to heaven, right? So sometimes we have no idea why we make the decisions that we make until we have some time to process them after the fact and think about them. It's not like I joined for a few streams and chatted for a while. The only thing that I lied about was my name. Like everything else that I said on the stream, in the chats was my genuine self. I'm like, I'm getting to be myself and kind of interact with him in this way. But I also, after the fact, realized what was it I was looking for? What was I getting from him in those situations? Because he, like, basically kept trying to get me to come back and chat with him, right? And I was like, this feels wrong. So, like, I did get to the point of realizing I shouldn't keep doing this, and so. I eventually sent him one final message, came clean. Hey, just so you know, that was me. If you do want me to come back, knowing it's me, I can come back, but I have zero expectations that you want me to. And then since then, just went cold turkey again and have not been checking on him because that was the decision I needed to make for myself. And so I kind of spent a lot of time thinking about psychology, my attachment issues, the addiction side of things. I was clearly seeking some kind of validation from him. But I also was like, you know what? I don't need to get these specific things from him. What else? Where else can I get them from? If he was not able to have the kinds of deep and vulnerable conversations I was looking for, where else can I get them? And that was kind of the beginning stages of me deciding to start this new live stream, Real Talk with a Vulnerable Angel. So that's where Angel came from. I was like, you know what? I'm really ashamed of the fact that I did this. I know it was a terrible thing for me to do, but I'm trying to love those parts of myself that I don't like. And so I'm like, I'm going to embrace this side of myself. I'm going to lean into that shame and become that angel. And it's really funny, I don't know, or I don't know, funny in a weird way. As I was I let him know before I came out and confessed who I was, I told him I was going to stop, chatting in his streams. And as I was leaving, he called me his guardian angel. I was like, no, no, let's not lean into this. So yeah, so that's kind of where all this started, and now here we are.
Well, I'm certainly glad that
questions.
you didn't change it for any grand reason. It was just a spur of the moment. There's no reason that you changed the name of the show. Nothing in depth.
Yeah.
Very.
Right. That's sarcasm. Okay. Sorry, okay, I'm also autistic and I don't always recognize sarcasm unless it's super obvious. So something else to be aware of. There you go.
I use sarcasm all the time, and I try to lay it on thick, because I don't. I'm fairly aware of, and I have like 5 ideas that I'm trying to say at the same time. A very close friend of mine she's in my cosplay group in San Diego. Sometime, even when I lay on the sarcasm like really, really thick, she doesn't see it, and it lands with a certain kind of like ouch feeling. And like I can, whenever I say it, like I can see in her eyes, she's like, what is happening right now? Why the fuck would you say that? And I'm like, it was a joke, I'm sorry. So
You have to be careful sometimes. No, I have people try and be like they'll comment on my post. It's even harder to tell in text, right? They'll comment on my Facebook post with something sarcastic. I'm like, but I'm autistic, and like, should I be taking this literally right now, or are they joking with me? I'm like, I can't always tell.
That's not an autism thing. That's an everybody text.
No, but it's more common with autistic people.
Sure, yeah,
and if you think it's an everyone thing, you may also be autistic. FYI.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I'll take it. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Honestly, like the people that I get along best with usually find out after interacting with me or figure out that they are also autistic or neurodivergent in some fashion or another. So we just communicate
a niece and a
that way.
nephew, biological niece and nephew, who are both of them are neurodivergent, and
wow. Okay.
I would not doubt any of that.
There is a biological genetic component to neurodivergence. So yeah. So what we do in the show generally is I have like a bunch of card decks that I pull questions from. So I have this one called Skip the Small Talk. I have this love languages one. Ooh, there we go. Intimacy. Those 2 decks I bought specifically to have these kinds of conversations with the ex that I was talking about, but we're using them here instead. And then there's another one, play your cards right, and let's see, cards and conversations. So we've got a lot to choose from. And then Mike also had a deck that we were using last time.
I didn't pull it out this week.
That's fine. We have.
You didn't pull it out. You didn't pull it out.
That's what she said.
But so I was telling my wife about this. She asked me how the show went last week. She was asking me how the show went last week, and I was getting all excited. I was like, "Oh yeah, so we're doing this. Oh, we're asking each other these questions." And so she told me about another deck of cards that we have in our game closet that I have to find. Wow. But yeah, so we have another one
next time. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, okay. I love that you guys are so into this, and you've kept coming back week after week. Like when I had the idea to start this, I didn't know if it would just be a once-off thing or if I'd be able to continue it. So I'm very grateful, and I'm trying to do more of like actually expressing my appreciation, because as I said, I was not very good expressing myself in my last relationship. So I'm learning more to actually express how I'm feeling, and I'm very, very grateful for the fact that you guys keep joining me for this, and I have other friends that want to be part of it too. It's just like you guys
bring them on.
Bring back if they're available for when we schedule this stuff. Sure. Episode 2, I had my friend Puppy Zach join when Mike wasn't available. So and he's keen to do it again. Like he joined me for my Lego stream 2 nights ago. And by another friend of ours, Sim, and Sim asked him, Zach, you've been Mike met Sim. And Sim asked Zach, which of you've been, I guess, on all of Dominica's different types of live streams, which one do you prefer? And Zach was like, the vulnerable conversation one. So I'm like, okay, I got to get you back. So we'll do it. Which deck do you guys want to start with today?
Jared?
Mike, do you have a preference?
What have we not done yet?
Correct. I was going to say that as well.
We have done all of them. However, the least number of questions have probably been from cards and conversation. So I can pull from that.
Let's go with that.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Pull it out. Whip it out, girl.
Whip it out. Also, okay, so this is a weird thing that I was thinking. Okay, in terms of which question to, this is actually like a proper deck of cards as well. It's got questions on it.
Whoa.
But
Nice. 2 for 1 special.
I get fed a lot of tarot card readers in reels on Instagram and Facebook, and one of the things that they always do is like shuffle the cards and then like they shuffle them on camera, and then whatever pops out, that's the one that they kind of like tell you stuff about. So I want to do that with this deck. Okay, we'll see how we go.
Let's do it.
If I can shuffle and make them pop out. I don't know if they have like bigger. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have you guys choose the thing. Come on, guys.
One thing that I can't get over. One of my friends from school. He's actually a professional magician now in London. He goes all over the world traveling, and he's amazing with cards. He'll do like all these amazing shuffling things. I've got no idea how he does it. It's insane. Like
I learned how to do the fake where you cut the deck into 3 decks, and then it looks like you're shuffling it in this fancy way, but it's just
you just do
the cards back in the deck. I learned how to do that. I forgot it, but I could relearn it.
That's cool, man. Cool.
All right, we got the Jack of Hearts and the 10 of Hearts. Which should we start with? Let's see.
Let's go with Jack, I suppose.
Jack. Jack.
Royalty.
And we have 5 questions to choose from. All right, let's go with the middle question first. Actually, no, I want to go with this one. What was your most recent small act of rebellion?
Most recent?
Yes.
Small. Oh boy.
Well, hold on. What's a small rebellion versus a large rebellion? Are we talking like smoking cigarettes behind the bleachers versus January 6th?
Probably. Yeah, probably something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Small rebellion is like, something against like, 1 to 5 people versus, a large group of people.
Small rebellion.
Or even if it's like something against the government, but it's not like a big deal. Like, oh,
yeah, you're just trying to get it to admit to treason.
On camera. Yeah, let's admit to a federal crime. Yeah, sure. Okay.
I let my water run without getting a plumber for a while. Like, I don't know, something like that.
Okay, well, so that comment kind of sparked a little thing. So the building that I live in, we've been having hot water issues for a little while. And so I'm in like the building group text amongst like other residents. And so like whenever our hot water is supposed to be hot, but it's cold, we'll jump into the group chat and say, hey, and so it got to the point where like every day consistently, the hottest it would get would be like, so there's like room temperature, lukewarm, warm, and then whatever like the step above warm is, like that is the temperature that it did not. It was the kind of thing that you had to like get out of the shower very quickly because they're just too cold. Anyway, so there was this thing going around in the group chat saying like, hey guys, like it's a big building. There's a lot of residents. There's X amount of hot water heaters. Can you please keep your showers like a little shorter until we can kind of get this sorted. I didn't cut my shower short.
Monster.
Oh no.
Monster.
So that's less rebellion and more selfishness. But yeah, that's what I'm coming up with in the moment.
Mm.
That's a good one.
Is it though? Good
I'll
for
take
me.
it. Yeah.
You're at least rebelling against somebody. Like you told, but this is kind of going back to what we were talking about last week with pathological demand avoidance. You told me I shouldn't do this thing, well, I'm going to do it anyway.
Exactly.
You can't tell me what to do.
You cannot. So, I don't know. How much do I rebel? I mean, I guess I don't know.
I got high on election night.
Did you?
I did for my first time. First time in my life.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Were you okay?
I took way too much because I was drinking THC.
You doubled up. You double fisted.
Well, here's the thing. The night before election night. Yeah, the night before election night, we were here in New York, and we had some THC drinks in the refrigerator. And I can't experiment with any sort of drugs unless they're prescription. But like, I can't experiment with drugs because in my day job, which I'm not willing to talk about on camera, I get drug tested. So like a random drug test. So on election night, I was just starting my month-long vacation. So I knew that I had plenty of time for it to get out of my system. So the night before election night, I had a 10 milligram THC drink, and I drank it over the course of like half hour, something like that. Felt nothing all night. I didn't feel anything. So the next day, on election night, we flew out to Minneapolis and stayed with friends because you don't want to be alone on election night. So we got a whole bunch of THC drinks, and I had, over the course of like an hour, one 10 milligram can. Didn't feel anything. So I drank another 10 milligram can, and that took us to hour 2. And I still didn't feel anything. And then at the beginning of hour 3, I drank a third 10 milligram can. 2.5 hours after my first drink is when it kicked in. And I had 30 milligrams of THC running through my system. And it hit hard.
I'll bet.
It hit hard. So like for my first time ever getting high, it was intense. It wasn't the most unpleasurable thing. Like I've been drunk before and I do not enjoy being drunk. It's like as a rule I don't drink alcohol. I just don't. Really never have. But yeah, I would get high again. I do THC again, but gotta test these milligrams.
What about you, Dominica?
My small act of rebellion. I don't know. My immediate thought was staying up too late.
Yeah, that counts. That counts.
Like even when I was like, I know I should go to bed, and I'm like, but I'm not even doing anything interesting. I'm just like scrolling on social media and stuff. I'm like, I need to be doing something better.
That is my every night. Every night.
Well, I'm at the point now where I feel like I want to spend less time on a computer. Maybe that's why my MacBook Air broke today, to force me to not be on a computer as much. Right now, the computer I'm using to live stream on is my Chromebook that I use for the camera for my Lego streams. Like it's usually pointing face down on my table. So I'm like, at least I have a backup that I can use for tonight because I don't have enough time to take my computer to a repair shop, and I would really rather not have to buy a new computer while I'm unemployed. So, yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So we'll see how things go. I will probably at least try and take it to a Mac shop to see if they can fix it, because that's where all my resumes were stored. I save most of my stuff in cloud storage now, but my resumes, no, apparently those were not those things that I thought was necessary to keep in the cloud.
Just find
Yeah.
someone's resume that looks similar to your own, and then just, tweak a few things.
No, like, there's one upside to this is that yesterday afternoon, I met with a friend who works at a company that I'm interested in working for, like just to find out more about like how to kind of tweak my resume and stuff to work for that company. And he said they'd be happy to look at my resume to give me some feedback. So I sent him an updated resume and a cover letter before this happened. So I was like, at least I can download it. It might be a PDF, so I have to, copy it into a document so I can make tweaks for other future things. But at least I have my most recent version of it somewhere.
Awesome.
So it's not all bad. Yeah.
Sharad, how about you? How do you rebel?
I'm a bit of a moody bitch. Like basically, if someone annoys me, I don't aggressively get in people's faces and make a big spectacle, but I'll do little things where I get my little semblances of justice. You know what I mean? Like, so for example, like I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, this was years ago, mind you. This is when I was recovering at home. I just got out of my wheelchair, so I was still moving around. And but the thing was, though, because of my illness, I pretty much was only awake to either eat, have a shower, and that's it. Because like my stamina was limited. As soon as my head touched the pillow, I was out. And I was living at home, and for some reason, we had 4 dogs at the time. And for some reason, whenever someone was coming home or leaving the house, they would ask me, "Can you hook the dog, unhook the dog to make sure, blah, 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 blah." And at one point, it just got too much, because at one point, over a 4-hour period, I woke up 12 times because they kept on calling me, "Can you tie the dog, release the dog?" And I just lost my shit. And I just turned into a really catty bitch. I just like, I got like a standing fan, took it outside, hooked it up. I got one of those inflatable mattresses, put that outside, and put a blanket on it. And I just slept outside. And they all came back. They're like, "What are you doing? You'll get heat stroke." I'm like, "This is the easiest way for me to do this, dude." And after that, I didn't get a single call back ever again. So, yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a real first world problem.
When I was a kid, I wasn't that young, but I was, I don't know, like 11, something like that. My mom sent me to the kitchen to go do the dishes, and for whatever reason, this particular night, I put up such a fight. I did not want to do the dishes. I was so angry. And let's be honest, doing the dishes takes less than 5 minutes. So I was so pissed off. And in my upsettedness, I don't know if it was subconscious or if it was deliberate, but somehow I broke a plate in the sink, and it made this big crashing sound, and it shattered all through the sink. And my mom said, "What happened?" Like, she was in the other room. She's like, "What happened? Are you okay?" And so she came into the kitchen, and like the stern, "You will do the dishes," from my mother had turned into, "Oh no, are you okay?" And immediately, so the good child would have said, "Oh yeah, I'm fine. I just broke a plate." But the devious me came into play and said, like, there was this voice in my head that said, "This is
Do
your
it.
chance."
Do it. Do
And
it,
I
Anakin.
said,
Strike him down.
I just like Ralphie from A Christmas Story, I whipped up some fake tears and I said, "I'm such a doofus. I can't even wash the dishes right. I'm such a doofus." And Mom said, "You're not a doofus. It's okay. I'll finish up. You just, just go to your room or whatever you want to do." And so I got out of it. So I feel like we have a kinship.
There we go. Well done.
Don't ask me to do this thing.
Oh man, I would feel guilty. It's like I can't lie. I'm not good at lying.
Oh,
Practice
same.
makes perfect.
Like the first time that I talked about this live streaming deal, like the fact that I was talking on my ex's live stream back in October, came up when I was talking about Sharad had asked a completely different question on episode 2 of this, and I'm just like, I can't lie. I have too much guilt. It's like, even when I know I can get away with something, like I didn't have to come clean to my ex and let him know that it was me. And I felt too guilty. Like, and I think that, but the fact that I did come clean about that, I think is one of the reasons I was able to embrace this side of myself and to talk about it publicly on a live stream as well. It's like, he knows. If anyone who is a mutual friend, hears about this from me, at least he already knows. So he's not gonna find a new information if I'm talking about it publicly, So that's one of the reasons that I'm so fucking honest. It's like,
yeah. I don't know, because I'm under the belief that for me anyway, whenever I do something wrong or to my benefit, it'll gnaw away at me. And it might not be immediate, it might not be days, months, or whatever, but I'll just be like, after a while, that memory will resemble the back of your mind, and you'll be like, ooh. Yeah, so it's just not for me.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know that I would have come clean to him so soon if it hadn't been for my therapist basically encouraging me to do so, because she was like, well, you could wait longer, but if the longer you take, the more betrayed he is going to feel when you finally tell him the truth. And I'm like, yeah, I suppose I should just rip the Band-Aid off then. So I have no idea how he felt about the whole thing. Like as I said, I've not been checking in on him, and even if I had, it's not like he's going to have said anything about it anyway. So,
well, at least it's off your chest. So
it's off my chest. Yeah.
There's a reason you're wearing the halo and wings, and we're not.
Because I'm the dead one.
Nice.
Yeah. Next question.
Yeah, go for it.
Next question. Yeah, Mike, you're usually the one that's.
As an improviser, I'm just looking for the edits.
Ooh,
Yeah.
here's the good one. What have you given up in order to achieve your goals? What sacrifices have you made in order to achieve your goals? Or if you want to think about just one particular goal that you have achieved or done.
What have I sacrificed? It's interesting because I feel like my entire life I've always put me first.
That's a very male answer. If you don't mind my saying.
No, you're completely accurate.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Seriously. You haven't been like, oh, I'm gonna put dating aside while I achieve these other things in my life, anything like that?
I know. I think for for me, not recently, but when my mother was still recovering from kidney failure, she was going through dialysis, and she went for her dialysis Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and I remember telling my family, like, listen, even though I'm at work here at the office, I might have a meeting. Don't worry about it. I'll drop mom off. I'll pick her up. I'll make sure she has her food and everything. I'll make sure she's well rested. And that wasn't an issue for me. And it's strange because people were like saying, why did you? I mean, you're giving up so much of your time and you're shifting around appointments. And I'm like, well, number one, she's my mom. Of course I do that. And number two, the most obvious reason was like when I first came back from America, when I was so ill, like I said, all I could do was this. My short-term memory was gone. Mom pretty much gave up her entire career to look after me. So it just goes to show that no matter how much you put out, you'll get back 10 times fold. So, the fact that I remember telling mom, like, she would always get very apologetic saying, oh, I don't mean to take you away from your work. I'm like, no, man. I mean, mom, like, I'll get to hang out. I'll get to like make you watch some shitty 90s wrestling while I shove food down your mouth. And so we got along great. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you give and you take.
It took me a little bit to think about my answer. It's gonna be a doozy, this one. I sacrificed my self-respect in order to achieve the goal of being in a perceived happy relationship or happy marriage. That was my initial thought that I was thinking of, and then I was like, you know what? But it didn't stop there, because I sacrificed my authenticity in my last relationship with the guy that inspired this whole thing, because I was so afraid of losing him, right? I just gave up parts of myself that I wasn't able to speak up about things that I wanted to say, because I was afraid that by saying them I would lose him. And I'm like, the goal that I want is to have him, so I need to kind of like do these things. And it wasn't coming from him. This was like my trauma. Like, maybe there was a little bit of his emotional distance, but there were signs that he like was at least somewhat invested in the relationship by his actions, his words less so. But which is weird, right? Because usually words are more the thing that women listen to, and they don't pay attention to the actions in relationships. But yeah, just like my history with my ex-husband and feeling like I had to walk on eggshells or worried that I was going to say the wrong thing so that I didn't have a particular kind of reaction, that kind of translated to the next relationship that I had. And it wasn't good for me. So, that's why I'm trying more now. It's like, I can't be sacrificing my needs in order to have a relationship with someone, no matter how much I feel for them, no matter how much I like them, right? What's more important is that I stay true to myself and what I need. And as long as I speak up about what I want, if they're not able to meet those needs, at least I gave them a chance to try, rather than assuming that they wouldn't want to.
Geez, what a sign of maturity.
I was going to say the same thing. Very mature. Yeah.
Because it takes such a long time to get to that point.
The lessons I've been learning this year. No, I've like so many of the things that I watch and follow on social media and YouTube and that these days is relationship-based stuff to help me get to this place of acceptance of, what's most important right now. And I don't know that I would have done this with anybody else, but with him, reverted back to that old self because I had a history with him. Like, we'd been together 10 years ago, and he came back into my life and had shown interest in me and wanted me back. And I was like, now I have to grab hold of this, and I don't want to lose it. And I was just like constantly terrified that I was going to lose him again because of that history of him disappearing on me. I was like, I was just so afraid that he was going to abandon me that I didn't want to do the wrong thing so that it would have the same outcome, right? And then that kind of mindset led to me behaving in ways that led to him abandoning me anyway. So it was like, oh, better for me to speak up about what I need and be abandoned rather than hold it in and wonder what could have been had I actually spoken up.
Yeah, and I think it's in your instance anyway. I think it's a lot of well, I mean, how often do we get second chances at something? We don't get that very often. So when you do, you're like you take it with both hands, don't you? Because nothing's a sure thing. So I think the fact that it's completely understandable, like you felt the way you did, and yeah, it's completely normal. So don't beat yourself up over it.
Yeah.
Well, I always think about like relationships in terms like relationships that don't work out, right? You really fancy this person and you pursue them and you get into a relationship, and we always overlook all the bad stuff because we're so enamored with all of the good stuff. And when the bad outweighs the good, then that's when we start reevaluating and asking ourselves, should we still be in this relationship or whatever? And then eventually when we exit, there's always these hurt. I mean, understandably, right? There's hurt feelings, but it doesn't erase the fact that at one point in time, you saw great value in this person. And that doesn't stop being true just because, things have changed and maybe they became a different person. There's still truth in that that idea that this person had or has value.
I still consider him as someone who has value. I mean, I wouldn't have gone back to watch his live streams if it hadn't been for the fact that I still saw value in him, right? But he's someone that, we were friends first for several months before we ever got involved romantically, among other things. And so when I was noticing that there were signs that I didn't feel like I was capable of speaking up in the relationship, I was like, and that led to me feeling like he was not going to commit to me. I at least wanted to retain our friendship. Like that was my goal of going back to Malaysia last year, was to see if he and I could reconnect as friends. And that's all I was looking for at the time. I was not expecting it to become a whole thing. And so, yeah, so I tried to communicate in a way of being like, I still like value you as a person, but it's really hard to when you're like, we spent like 10 days in a row together, not constantly, but the first 10-ish days of January, he and I saw each other like every single day that was there. So when you're in each other's faces every day, then you don't have enough time to kind of think about and process everything that is that you want to say it in the proper way, in the most sympathetic way. And so that made it a lot harder for me to express what it was that I was looking for. And then it just came to a point of being like at the very beginning of the trip, I was like, if things don't work out between us, can you at least not, promise to not disappear on me again? Like, because I'm like, I could see the writing on the wall and where it was going, and I was like, I really don't want to lose him as a friend, regardless. Even if he's not able to show up for me the way that I want him to in a relationship, I still want him in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just. I still think he's a good person. He just, when he gets in his head, he, kind of spirals about things, and he also suffers from depression. So depression can kind of tell you a lot of falsities, and so I think he kind of made up a story in his head about what things that I had said meant, which were not true, and then that took him to a point of just needing to logic his way through to reasons why he needed to not have me in his life. and so you have to accept that in that situation. It's like, okay, if it hurts too much to be able to even look at me, then I have to deal with that.
I cut somebody out of my life once, and it was one of the most painful things ever, because I was at the time, I believed that I was in love with her, and maybe to a certain extent I was, but it was a false equivalent of love, because we never dated. We had never even kissed, but I was so infatuated with this woman for so long. And when I say so long, I mean like 14 years long.
Oh man.
Yeah, like a long time.
So you were
We met in high
experiencing
school.
limerence.
I'm unfamiliar with this term, but tell me more.
Limerence is like that infatuation feeling where you've built up a fantasy about the other person and what you kind of want to have with them, but it's not based on actual interactions that you've had with the person.
100%. That is exactly what that was. Limerence. How long has this term been around?
Quite a while, but I think I only stumbled across it in thinking about it in my my own sense. Like last year-ish, just before I started seeing my therapist, I think there was this there's this YouTube lady. I think she's called the Crappy Childhood Fairy or something like that, and she talks about complex post-traumatic stress disorder, so CPTSD, and how that can impact how you behave in relationships and stuff. So she had a video on limerent relationships that kind of resonated with me, of like, is that was what I was experiencing with my Malaysian ex, like the fact that I was still hung up on him after.
Let's call him Gary.
No, we'll call him Lee, because Lee is the name that yeah, there you go.
Happy Childhood Fairy.
Yep.
Huh.
So Lee is the name that I use for him in my memoir, and anytime I've written about him on
Great. Let's call him
my
Lee.
blog. So Lee. There we go.
Lee or
yeah.
Leigh?
Lee. Because he's Chinese. That's the reason. Anyway, so yeah, so the fact that I was still when we were originally together, it was 10 years ago, but he ghosted me after I moved here, and like I was still never got over that, right? It was like I still wanted to have him in my life as a friend, and I was like, what is that? What is that about? And so when I learned about this limerence thing through the Crappy Childhood Fairy, I was like, oh, is that what I'm experiencing? So like I brought it up with my therapist. Like that's one of the reasons one of the first things I talked about with my therapist was this past relationship with Lee, was because of I'm still wanting to have that connection back. But my therapist was like, didn't really say anything about limerence. She was like, no, you very clearly were in love with him, and that's why it's so hard for you to get past it. So yeah, she was like my biggest supporter to get me back to Malaysia last year to kind of deal with and get the closure that I needed. Like I had no idea what was going to happen. I hadn't spoken with him in like over 9 years at that point. And so I'm like, I don't even know if he's going to, you know, when I try to see him, if he's going to run away from me or if he's actually going to be open to communicating. And it was made easier by the fact that he like Sim, you know, as we've discussed, my friend Sim, he organized a welcome back dinner for me when I went back to Malaysia last year, and he had no idea about my history with Lee. At the time, he does now, but at the time he had no idea that Lee was not talking to me. So he invited Lee amongst other people for my welcome back dinner, and Lee showed up, and it's like, oh, he actually wants to see me because, like, you know, he chose to be there, and that's a very different situation from I have to chase him to try and communicate with him, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there we go.
Next question.
Did we all answer the question?
I didn't. I don't know what I would have. I genuinely can't think of anything. I mean, I've sacrificed in other ways, just not to achieve goals.
The blood of the innocent. Have you sacrificed that?
Who hasn't? Come on.
Yeah. Sure.
You think these horns grow themselves?
All right. Next time you guys need to go grab yourself some devil horns or something to have a balance out my angel thing. Do you have any?
I mean, I have enough toys.
It's fine. Grab something for next time. Before we get on to the next question, you know, Restream is saying that we have a viewer. I don't know if we do or not, but if we do, if we have any viewers, you are welcome to just enjoy our conversation. You do not have to interact with us at all if that's not your thing. But if you would like to, you are also welcome to ask us questions in the chat for us to answer. How deep do you want us to get? What do you want to know about?
It's actually much more interesting for us. To take viewer questions because it's more meaningful as opposed to
exactly what do people want to know as opposed to random improvised questions from card decks that we have. But you know, it's totally cool if you don't want to. So
what if it was Lee? What if Lee is watching?
You know, I highly doubt that he is paying attention to anything that I'm doing right now. I
think we all highly doubt.
However, I do check the analytics of these videos, and I think we've kind of discussed. I don't remember if I discussed this on stream or off stream before, but you know, one of the things that YouTube analytics shows you is the peaks where people are like repeat watching or, you know, watching more of whatever. And so there are a couple of times where I'm just like, who would be rewatching this particular part where I'm talking about my ex Lee? But I highly doubt that he's actually watching. That's more wishful thinking on my part.
Well, YouTube analytics also shows you what countries people are watching from.
Yeah, but it's never like I know when I've had Malaysian people clicking on stuff sometimes, and it hasn't actually shown up specifically. Like, if you don't have enough viewers, it doesn't tell you some of that information.
That's fair. Yeah,
and
that's true.
And so yeah, that's not something that has shown up. If it gives me any country at all, it's just given me United States at this point. I have like Malaysia is in the subset of higher ranking countries of my channel overall, right?
It doesn't tell you anything about Asia or anything like that?
On this, no. For my channel analytics, Malaysia does come up. But for specific videos, because I have so few viewers, it doesn't give me that highly detailed information. My
I agree. Sorry, go on.
It's all right. I think I discussed this on the previous stream as well, though. I just recently switched to getting the Instagram analytics, and I've been able to see what my audience of followers is on Instagram now. It's like, yeah, I'm not surprised by the rankings of things. It's like, you know, United States first, followed closely by Australia and Malaysia, and like it goes down by city as well in some cases. And like,
Oh,
like
wow.
all these Kuala Lumpur people and Petaling Jaya. I'm not surprised. I mean, that is the makeup of my friends, right?
Next stop, IP addresses.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to know what his IP address is anyway, right?
But an FBI database.
You know what? Look,
Yeah.
on the off chance that he is watching, just, you know, don't be afraid to reach out to me. I don't care what you have to say. The fact that you are reaching out matters more than anything else.
You might
There
not
you go.
care what he has to say, but we do.
We
guys
do.
It matters. Because like, well, this is the thing, right? Like if you really care about someone, it doesn't matter, you know, what they have to say. It's what you mean to them. So the fact that somebody is trying to reach out to me and put effort in, that matters most to me. I think we kind of touched on this last time as well. It's like, that's more on a previous stream. Like, I'm now putting more effort to showing up and spending time with people who show up for me. And that's all I need, right? You know, he had told me things like, you know, feeling like he wasn't worthy of me and that he couldn't give me what I needed. And I was like, do you even know what I need? I don't think you do. Like, because I hadn't expressed what I needed. All I was looking for was to know that he saw a future for us in any kind of capacity, like whether it was friendship or, you know, I wanted to know what he was looking for, right? And I wanted to know that there was commitment on his mind, and if it wasn't, then, you know, friendship would be fine for me. But I didn't want to be stuck in that limbo state of like, is this going to be serious or not? Like, don't waste my time. Like that's all I wanted, right? Because for me, the person's company that's all that matters. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care about, you know, finances. I don't care about, you know, living large or anything like that. If I care about a person, their time, like getting to spend time with them is all that matters to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a very rare breed.
I had a friend over last week who is very similar to Lee. Like when I met him, when I first moved to California, I was drawn to him because immediately I was like, you remind me so much of Lee. He was wearing this, like I was at a Halloween party and he was wearing this Shaun of the Dead costume. And I was like, and he was Asian as well. I was like, immediate, like, nerdy Asian guy, so much like my ex who had just ghosted me. I'm drawn to this, right? And anyway, so he is.
I think you might have a type.
No, I've dated look, Lee is the only Asian partner that I've been with for an extended period of time. I've had a couple of one-off situations. That's different. But anyway, I've had more white partners. I've had more white partners. Anyway.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Anyway, back to this friend. So he is also someone who's like not really big on, like he doesn't see, he sees himself as single because he doesn't see himself as being like, he's afraid of hurting the person that he's with or being hurt. And I feel like that's a big thing about Lee as well. Like all of that pain, it's like hard to feel your emotions, right? And so I was explaining my situation to this other friend, and immediately he's like, he had the perfect woman, why did he give it up? I was like, tell him that. No, it's like, but like it's when you don't believe that you are, you know, worthy of love just as you are, because you've been brought up in an environment where you have to earn love, it's hard to accept that unconditional love regardless of circumstance, right? So
That's really sad.
yeah, it is sad.
Well,
But
I
there's
think
so
a
many
lot
people
of
like that.
us, I think a lot of us kind of have to go through this refiner's fire process to become the best version of ours, or maybe not even the best version of ourselves, but we kind of
A
have
better
to get
version.
a better version. You have to learn certain things about yourself and tame certain things about yourself. Bridle, and so I grew up in the Mormon church, and there's this whole scriptural passage about like bridle your passions, which I think is a really interesting way to describe kind of like taming certain aspects of yourself. But like we all kind of have to go through this process of self-realization and self-betterment, and at least begin the process of self-care before we can let someone else in a big and meaningful way into our lives. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts that is why, and this is total way to go, Mike. But I do believe, like, I think that's why Kim and I have such a great relationship, is because we were with the wrong people for so long. But not just that, we had to learn what we don't want and what we do want, but we also had to become better people so that when we met each other, we were ready for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I reached the point of realizing with Lee that it didn't matter how much I told him how much he meant to me and how much I appreciated everything that he was doing for me. If he didn't believe that stuff himself, it wasn't going to change. Like he wasn't going to receive what I was giving him if he wasn't able to believe it, right? So I was like,
Maybe he should take a ride on the Polar Express. Next question.
Long time since I've seen that movie. All right, next question.
Actually, before we go on to the next question, Mike, I was watching a film yesterday, and you just kind of brought it up. You mentioned your Mormon family background. I watched a film yesterday called Heretic. Have you seen that? I love that movie, and oh my god,
I haven't seen it yet. I really want to go see it. We just haven't had time to go to the theater. When we did go to the movies, was it last week? Maybe, yeah, I think it was last week. We went to go see Wicked, and I fucking loved it. But yes, Heretic, I've been wanting to see so much.
It's so good. It's so good.
From the trailer, I can tell you there are certain procedural things that are incorrect, but also from a narrative perspective, who cares?
Dominica, are you aware of the plot of Heretic?
I'm not. No, I haven't even heard of this film. You would
Okay,
think
so,
I should be familiar with things, but no.
No, it's an A24 film. So it's starring what's his
Hugh
face?
Grant.
Thank you, Hugh Grant, and he's like this creepy kind of guy, like two missionary girls from Utah, I believe it is. They're knocking on doors, going, "Have you heard about Jesus?" You know, whatever. And they're doing their spiel, and he opens up his door, and he's like, "Oh, my wife's just making some pie. Would you like to come in?" They come in, and the basic crux of the story is he starts challenging them on their views, and it gets really tense really quickly. And it's really, really good. So if you get a chance, watch
that
it.
happens all the time.
I bet it does. Well, I mean, it's tricky because when I was in Hull, we had a lot of Mormons at one point. And I remember like a couple of Mormons actually came to my apartment. I let them in because I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? We had a bit of a chat. And they got really offended when I mentioned that, what's that Dan Brown story? The one with the, the Holy Grail, and Tom Hanks was in the film version.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about,
I
right?
know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what? What are we talking?
The Dan Brown book that was turned into a movie.
Yeah.
Oh, Angels and Demons.
Yeah. That
Oh,
thing.
But there's a
The
different
Da Vinci Code. The Da Vinci Code. The Da Vinci Code. That's it. Yeah, Da Vinci Code. And I remember, like, I brought up some. I can't remember now exactly what I mentioned, but I did link it back to that, and they got really annoyed with it. You could tell they're like, "Well, that's just film stuff." And they quickly finished the spiel and they left. But like, yeah, I mean, I understand it's a very common thing in terms of people going around. And
all religions have this, not just religions, but just anytime you have a social organization, everyone in all walks of life, we all get so protective of that thing, right? Because our identity gets wrapped up in it. And like, as improvisers, we do this all the time. Somebody says, "Oh, improv is a lesser art form." Fuck you, right? We get very defensive of it. So like,
yeah.
as a Mormon, you've experienced
No, yeah. I think I talked about this with my opinions about how improv is represented in the media, on BoJack Horseman, for example, and other stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, like even in like Mormon missionaries, and I found this all the time, is when I was a Mormon missionary in Ireland, and I got paired up with all these people. Like at times you kind of buy into, like, you take the ridiculous side of things so seriously. And like there are some, in all religions, there are fantastical things that you need. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. Like even if you do believe it, it's necessary that you understand that it is a fantastical thing, and that it sounds magical, and that it sounds ridiculous. That needs to be acknowledged. But so few people in those circles will actually acknowledge the ridiculousness of how that sounds. Even if you believe that it's true, you have to acknowledge how silly it sounds to the lay person's ear. But yeah, like, and that happened all the time. Like people would talk to us about like Angels and Demons and Da Vinci Code, and I remember there was this one discussion that I was having with a missionary while I was also a missionary, and there was like a big group of us, and they were all bragging about how they made a Jehovah's Witness cry because they won the argument.
that's fucked, man.
Wow.
And I'm like, what is your problem? Our purpose is to find people who want to better themselves through Christianity. And you're bragging about like winning an argument and bringing somebody to tears? Fuck off.
That sounds so much like the modern day American Christians that support Republicans.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it very tricky anyway when it comes to Mormonism. Like, all right, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. So, from my like I haven't looked this up in a long time, but it basically was it Joseph? He found 2 gold tablets. Was it a gold tablet or
the
2?
golden plates? Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and he went on from there, and so that's how Mormonism came to be, right? Like you have to abide by this code, essentially.
I would replace the word code with doctrine. But I mean, so like, how much of a deep dive do you guys want to take on Mormonism right now? I will
let Sharad decide. Okay. Before we dive into this, kind of the thing that's coming up for me as we've been talking about this, or as I've been listening, my best friend in university was Mormon, so and I had a massive crush on him. Okay. He was not attracted to me in that way. Like, look, here's my history. I'm attracted to male friends who are not attracted to me back. God damn it. But like, at least I can maintain friendships with him usually afterwards, even if I express my interest. But anyway, So he and I were like great friends, and like I'd always meet his girlfriends, and like sometimes they'd be jealous of me. It's like, why do you have this really good friendship with this woman? Because we're friends and have similar interests. Turns out he is also autistic. Didn't know at the time. That's why we get to do. But so I was friends with him while he went on his mission to Melbourne while I was living in Perth. And we wrote letters back and forth to each other. Like, so I got to hear from his perspective about like what things were like for him while he was on his mission. Meanwhile, anytime I'd hang out with him after university, like his family would often have like the local Mormon missionaries would come and hang out. So I'd got kind of get to know from both kind of sides of things that way. Through that.
Interesting.
So
interesting. Yeah. So, like, Mike, you've seen Heretic, then, yeah?
No, I wanted to. We
No.
just haven't gotten around to it.
But you should, because like I found it really interesting. Where So basically, well, without giving anything away, these two girls, very different girls. So from what I understand, whenever like missionaries go out, they tend to be in pairs. One's the newbie, one's the more senior kind of person, depending how that works. Yep. And so when they meet this guy, Hugh Grant, it's really interesting. He turns around the conversation on them, like, how do you believe this? Why do you think that? Why? And it really, really messes with them. And I think it's really interesting.
I've had that exact conversation where, I mean, not situation where someone tried to kill me or whatever, but I remember a time when I was knocking on doors and there was this woman that let us in, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I would love to learn more." And there's a rule that if you, she's like, it's two guys. If you and we call, knocking on doors, we call it tracting. If you tracked into a woman who is there alone, you can spend 10 minutes with her, and then you have to leave. Just like propriety reasons. We don't want anyone making accusations about anything. Just kind of safety concerns, not like, I don't want someone making an accusation about me.
Yeah.
I don't want someone making an accusation about her,
protect yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But for the return visit, she has to have a male companion with her. So we came back, and it just so happened that woman that we tracked it into, who seemed so interested, she was the wife of a former Mormon bishop who had voluntarily left the church and went rogue, and his sole mission was to tear down the church from the inside out. And we had no idea. And so, like,
then why did she let you in? That's so weird.
Because she was in on it. She wanted to help tear down the Mormon church alongside her husband. And
that's scary.
So she let us into her house, and she was like, "Oh, acting so interested. Oh,
tell us more.
Tell me more." And so we make an appointment. We come back, and her husband's there. His name is Carrie. So we're there with Carrie. I'll leave their last name out, even though it's a very common Irish last name. You could probably figure it out. So we went back, and Carrie was there, and we actually brought a member of the local congregation with us. So we was like, oh, well, we don't know if her husband's going to be there, whatever. So we brought someone with us, and the guy that we brought, the whole time, he was just like, stone face, I can't believe I'm in this situation right now. And here we are, these two goofy little missionaries. Oh boy, somebody's interested in hearing what we have to say. And so we sit down, we start talking, blah, 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 and Carrie starts arguing with us and badgering us and giving us like all of this anti-Mormon literature. And And
oh
then
wow! So he actually had
yeah.
the literature behind him and just giving it out. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he was like, the whole time he kept like leaving the room and coming back and leaving the room and coming back. I'm like, what's happening? Come to find out, fast forward 2 weeks, that motherfucker recorded our entire time together, and he wrote like a 10-page, for lack of a better term, manifesto. And he quoted us. He quoted things that we spoke about in our session together. And he was like twisting our words and saying like, all this stuff. And we're like, what the actual fuck is
Yeah.
this? And the reason that the other member of the church that we brought with us, why he stayed stone-faced, cold and quiet and like so shocked, is because he knew Carrie. He knew Carrie while he was an active Mormon bishop, and they were all friends. And they were all they all used to be like really close. And then Carrie, for whatever reason, I don't know, he went rogue and decided like, let's burn this mother down. And so everyone like flipped on Carrie, like, we have to distance ourselves from this guy. He is bad news. And so I remember we were at home one day when that 10-page manifesto got dropped off at our doorstep. He was on a fucking motorcycle. This guy comes in on a motorcycle.
That's hilarious.
Drops this manifesto on our front door, knocks on the door, and leaves. And we're like, who just arrived on a motorcycle? What is happening? It was crazy. So anyway, all of that is to say, true experience about what you're talking about right now.
And
That's so
and now,
interesting. Yeah.
I'm thinking this comes back to our first question that we asked with the act of rebellion. Would you say that was a small act of rebellion against the church, or
No.
a larger one?
That was
Because
huge.
that's massive, right?
It's
To
no
go to that
January
kind of
6th,
effort.
but yeah, that was wild. That
Wow.
was
Yeah.
wild.
I actually have a lot of family in Salt Lake City, and
I'm sorry.
my dad's let me finish. So my dad's side of the family, they were all like Mormon, and but by the time one of my dad's brothers was like the black sheep of the family, and he was like not like into the church and that sort of thing. But by the time I went to visit this side of the family in Salt Lake City in 2004, 2004, early 2005, I think, all of that side of the family, they'd left the church, apart from the black sheep who became a bishop. So like, they reversed.
I mean, that happens. It's a very strange dynamic when that happens, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure my dad will probably leave a comment about that when he watches this later.
Very well.
I'm assuming he's not one of the viewers right now, because he probably would have said something if he was. Yeah. We might have a new viewer. It says we've got 2 viewers right now. Feel free to drop us a question. What do you want to know? Like, ask us a deep question that's going to be tricky for us to answer.
Mormonism.
Or not. We don't have to talk about religion. We talk about all kinds of things. Otherwise, I'm just going to jump to another question from this card. What are these cards?
Go for it.
Okay. How important are birthdays or anniversaries to you? Or do they hold equal weight, or do you have, birthdays or anniversaries worth more?
I don't know. I think for me, they're very important. I've noticed that as we get older, like, we tend to forget, or we lose that magic of things when we were younger. And obviously, I remember, like, when you're a kid, it's your birthday, it becomes this huge thing. The whole day is about you. All your friends come around. It's the best day of the year. Some of the things. Then later on, you're just like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But I remember even to this day, whenever someone on Facebook or a text wishes me a happy birthday, it brings a smile to my face. It's the little things. you know. And it's the same thing with anniversaries. I'm sure it's the one time a year where you guys just go, okay, we did all right, aren't we? We're doing quite good so far. So and in some ways, while we kind of lose that magic as we get older, it becomes, in my opinion, it becomes even more important. So yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts, Michael?
I think, and I will speak for Kim. I feel like we hold anniversaries and birthdays with like the same amount of weight. We definitely make time for each other, and we try to like make the day special for each other, but also it's I don't want to underplay it. Like, it's definitely a big event. We don't go overboard, but we don't neglect it. Let's be honest, we usually end up seeing a few Broadway shows.
Yeah.
That's kind of become like an anniversary thing for us. And a birthday.
That's nice.
Before I answer, I'm going to pull up my dad's comment. My dad just joined.
Oh.
So he says, nothing more to add. That side of the family often tried to broach the subject. Yeah, there you go.
Wait, they tried to broach the subject of
Mormonism.
Religion, I'm
let's
guessing.
convert you to Mormonism?
Yeah, we can wait for his answer. I'll answer the birthday anniversaries. To me, they are important. But I have a complicated relationship with them, I would say, now, because I was married for almost 14 years, and my ex-husband was someone who kind of didn't always handle my birthdays the way that I wanted him to. Like, okay, so I had this thing for a while, like after I moved to Malaysia, I kind of realized that I'd been in a different country for my birthday 3 years in a row, and I was like, hey, I should make this a thing. Go to a new country every year for my birthday. Like, that's how I'm going to celebrate. Because I was like, the time of year that my birthday is like at the end of November. So, and I didn't have a lot of close friends. So like, I would rather go do something that I enjoy rather than try and get people together that might not want to make time for me. So we had this thing where we traveled to different countries for my birthday, quite a number of years in a row. And on 2 of those trips, he brought one of his girlfriends along, because we were polyamorous. And so, we went to Vietnam one year, and he brought his Filipino girlfriend, came to join us because it was an opportunity to be able to see her. And I was like, kind of frustrated that the limelight wasn't all on me, because he was like spending time with her as well, and like he was holding her hand, walking along the street in front of me and our kids, and like in my mind, I'm like, and even though I knew it wasn't true, my perception of how other people would be viewing us in this situation would be like, oh my goodness, he is stepping the maid or something, like, and she's okay with this, like, what's going on, like, this is kind of weird situation. And so that kind of made me uncomfortable. Another year we went to Thailand, and at that time he had a Thai girlfriend who was living there, so she kind of tagged along for most of the time, like was showing us around and stuff, which was helpful, but also it's my birthday. It's like, so it was kind of like a weird thing. He was not the greatest at getting gifts for me, so I always felt like my birthdays was not as appreciated and respected as what I wanted them to be. And that's why last year, while I was with Lee at that time, he specifically put my birthday in his calendar and made sure that he had a video call with me at the time that I wanted him to, and made time for me. And that meant so much to me. Because after that kind of history, I was like, it's nice to just that he cares and is showing up, and is giving me exactly what I want. I didn't need anything more than that. That's all I wanted. So yeah, but when I was married, I like to celebrate the anniversaries, even though it wasn't the greatest of marriage. We had, different traditions that we had for things, and I tried to celebrate. I wish I had better anniversaries to celebrate. I kind of celebrate my divorce anniversary sometimes,
Hey,
or at
all
least
right.
Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, there you go. That's a thing.
The real
my-
Leslie Knope move.
my trip back to
Yeah.
Malaysia last year was a celebration of my divorce anniversary, because I left on the anniversary of my divorce and then arrived 2 days later. So it's yay, this is a celebration of my divorce.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's something.
Here's a question for you,
yeah.
Dominica.
Mm.
Would you practice polyamory again?
I have
Good question.
spent a lot of time thinking about that, and I don't think so. And that's it's something that I put a lot of thought into. At first, when I got divorced, I thought, yeah, but I'm still polyamorous. Polyamory was not the reason for our divorce; it was the relationship.
Right.
And so I'm like, but that's my kind of mindset. But as I took the time to process everything I went through in that relationship, or as much as I was able to process at the time, I kind of realized, but I was kind of pressured into polyamory and gaslit myself into accepting it, basically, to seeing that was what I wanted. I think we talked about last week how I came across the booklets that my ex-husband and I had written in the engaged encounter thing that we had, that when we were engaged before we got married. And he had written about how he was intending to have a monogamous marriage with me. And when I read that, I was like, yeah, that was what I had wanted. And so that kind of got me thinking, you know what, I don't have the time or energy to have, multiple romantic partnerships now. I don't think. I
It
just
sounds
want
stressful.
one person, right? So yeah, and that's something I didn't really have much discussion with with Lee about that when we had gotten back together, because obviously when I was with him in the first place 10 years ago, I was with him because I was able to, because of the polyamorous marriage. So that suited him fine, because the pressure was off of him for not not having to commit, because I was already married to somebody else. But so I don't know if that was kind of what he was looking for, or if he had also kind of wanted to have a monogamous situation. We didn't properly have a discussion about that. I think I alluded to it at least, and he just didn't really have any comments on that. But yeah, so that's what I'm looking for now. If I am to find somebody in the future, it would be monogamous relationship that I'm looking for. All right, let's bring up some of these comments. So my dad responded,
Yeah, please.
to your question, Mike. Yes, my dad had to sign papers to raise us Catholic, but didn't stop family. Yeah, because my dad's mum was Catholic, so that's an interesting situation.
Growing up, my dad was Catholic, my mom was Mormon, and so my dad didn't join the Mormon church until I was 9. So 0 through 9, we went to both churches every Sunday, and that was a slog, I'll tell you.
Wow. My dad also comments, my insights are showing wisdom and maturity. There you go. That's what
Agreed.
happens. That's what happens when you get older. If you have the time and ability to self-reflect on your history, because not everyone is able to do that. There's another comment in there. I don't know. Is that a real comment or is that a spam?
Why not?
I don't know that I want to bring that up. Is
Hold
that a
on,
real
I can't
comment?
see it.
Caught a broke boy trying to come up with my
Where
Amazon
is
package.
it? I'm trying to find it.
It's really funny.
From Poop Burger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a real comment. And if so, what is it in response to?
Well, I mean, we've kind of like beat around the bush, so we kind of need to bring it up.
Wait, what?
Or don't. It's fine.
Bring up the comment? Okay, fine. I'll click on it.
The
name alone's worth it. I think that's great.
Poop Burger
There you go.
69. I
There
mean,
you go.
that's art right there.
I think it's just like a universal thing where every year I get older, my sense of humor gets younger and younger, and I'm just like,
There you go.
funny.
The other viewer who is watching is I don't think that's my ex. So there you go.
Poop Burger 69.
But you don't
Top
think Poop Burger 69
No.
is
No. No, I don't. That's a weird message to leave. Like, do you guys, Sharad, do you guys get Amazon packages in Malaysia or do they deliver?
We do.
Okay.
We do. Obviously, with Amazon, if you order a package, you'll have to pay a premium for the delivery because obviously it's from America. So either they'll deliver it straight to your house, got to pay a bit extra, or to a nearby post office. So
wait. Okay, so if you get Amazon, okay, this is me being facetious now. Overtones. But do you get like internet?
Oh my god!
Does Malaysia have? Do you guys have cell phones?
I mean, it's tricky because we live on coconut trees, so as long as the coverage is clear, then no problemo.
Oh, okay. What about books? Do you guys have books?
Yeah.
Because we don't have books.
You're pushing it now. You're pushing it, Michael. We don't have books. Books are like top tier, so we don't have that yet. We don't have that yet. Please don't.
We don't have books here because they get burned because they're banned.
Oh shit!
Sharad talking the real talk. Look, this show is called Real Talk. I'm gonna talk about that shit.
Yeah. Actually, since we're talking about it, I've been hearing glimpses about it on the news. Is that actually a thing where people are burning books over there?
I haven't seen anyone post anything about like actual burning of books, but the banning of books is 100% real.
Yeah, the banning happens.
That's fair.
So last year, I think the #1 most banned book in the United States was something that I had bought like the moment it was released because it was a graphic novel.
Of course you did.
I had no idea like the controversy and stuff. It's about this non-binary person, and I bought it because I'm interested in topics like this. I want to know about other people who are different from myself, and so like I've known about this book since forever. Is Mike non-binary? It's like what? I don't know.
Non-binary, yeah.
It's fine. He's gone to get some pretzels. I don't know. And so then I discovered it was the most banned book of last year, and I was like, man, these people are just ridiculous. Like.
Well, it's tricky because I mean, I don't know much about neurodivergence and what have you, but I remember reading. I was watching this YouTube video where I can't remember. Some person saying like, "Oh, we're having all these different people show up now," and I just remember thinking, well, that's because people are a lot more informed. People have access to more things. So it's only normal for us to like, like you have more, like for example, like people are saying, oh, they're trying to convert children to change their gender. I'm like, who's doing that? No one is doing that.
No
Oh,
one's
they're having, yeah, exactly. They're having kids, they're having what you call it, 12-year-old kids like watch gay films. Who's doing that? No one is doing that. So it's very frustrating to hear, because it's just, you just think it's just a whole bunch of people just throwing something into the ether just to see the ripple effect. And
Oh yeah.
so that's
No,
just
it's
a
like
nightmare.
the news that that's come out this week about Pixar removing the line about this character being trans from this upcoming series on Disney Plus. It's been a big thing this week. So one of the people I'm connected to on Facebook, he posted about it and was like, but surely if you're that kind of parent that you're already policing your child to make sure, watching stuff in advance to make sure that your child is not watching stuff that you don't want them to watch. Like, no, they're not. They want to have these things, like have free reign and like none of this kind of content in children's films and TV, so that they don't have to watch in advance to police the content for the children. So they just want a blanket thing for everyone. That's just what the people are like. It's like, no.
So the reason I left, when you started talking about, like, we were talking about banned books, and there's a graphic novel that is on the banned book list. I thought you were going to talk.
Oh no, that one is,
Ooh.
it was a big controversy around. I don't have that one. It was a
This
different one.
Can you fill me? Can you fill me in on that?
Yeah. So, let me just go out on a limb. If anyone here, or if anyone watching, has the opportunity to pick up a copy of Mouse, it's just two books, volume 1, volume 2. So it is a true story. So it's you can see it's written by Art Spiegelman. Art Spiegelman is the son of a Holocaust Auschwitz camp survivor. His father, whose name escapes me at the moment, it's been a little while since I read it. His father has told his son Art all of these stories of him, going through the camps, and the entire story of how they got in the camps and this, that, and the other. And his father in Auschwitz was one of the few Jews who was saved by the American resistance when they, penetrated the Iron Curtain. So Mouse tells the entire story of his father's imprisonment in the internment camps, but as like a comic book graphic version where all the Jews are represented by mice. The Nazis are cats. I think the Hungarians are dogs. And there's like reasons why he's chosen all these different animals to represent these different groups of people. But while the story definitely is talking about his father's experience, it also compares and contrasts it to modern day. I mean, like he wrote it and published it, I think, in the 70s, early 80s, something like that. But yeah, so it keeps time jumping between then and now, and then and now, and how frustrated he gets with his father about certain little dumb things. Like I believe there was this whole thing about a coat. Like there was this one coat. It was so old and ratty and torn, and Art was just like, "Dad, let's just get rid of this coat and get you a new coat." And his father was like, "No, this is my coat. I need to hang on to this coat." And it had nothing to do with him. The coat had nothing to do with him being in Auschwitz, but it was the frugality of why he needed to hang on the coat was a reason that he adopted from Auschwitz. And like he goes through these whole, like, all these stories, and like all the frustrations that we as people have about our parents, they have a reason for why they get hung up and stuck on any kind of a thing. So, I mean, like I said, it's a true story about Art Spiegelman's family, specifically his father. It's so tragic. And like they go through let me see if I can find, there are some real heinous things that they depict.
Is this a comic book or a book?
Yeah, it's a
it's a graphic
graphic
novel.
novel.
Yeah.
Graphic
So
novel. Okay, cool.
here you can see in
Nice.
this panel right here.
sort of.
This is right. So this is where all the Nazis have
Oh, God,
told
yeah.
everyone to strip naked,
Wow.
and now
Yeah.
you have to shower, group shower. So I mean, like
Schnell.
yeah, it goes through like some real terrible shit. Towards the end, like there's this whole cremation, like they're watching people being cremated, and like he draws everything. It's like here's what you can see. Man, this backwards mirror is like killing me. So this panel right here, you can see there's a Nazi officer represented as a cat, and he's like getting ready to beat. Oh yeah, here you go. The cat is like beating the mouse with a billy club, but like it's heavy, but it's so good. But yeah, this has been banned in many states, and especially in if not all schools, a lot of schools.
Yeah, it's a whole
Interesting.
thing.
Yes.
My dad says it sounds similar to Animal Farm. That's what I was thinking when you were talking about it as well.
Very similar.
And he left another couple of comments here. Free speech is becoming a real issue these days, especially in the US. Yes, it is. And the people that are complaining most about it are the ones that are banning things the most as well, which is weird. And also, it is interesting to watch both sides, especially the extremist. Yes, it is. We see a lot more from the extremists rather than the people in the middle. The book that I was talking about was Genderqueer.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with genderqueer.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good book if you want to understand more. And it's a memoir, so it's about this person's experience growing up and kind of not understanding or not fitting in that into that gender binary.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. Another question?
Let's go for it.
Next question.
Next question. Ooh.
You do that. I'm going to sit here and eat a pretzel.
Oh,
You love your pretzels, don't you? Yeah.
I do love my
Can you give
pretzels.
me one? Can you give me one?
You want one?
Yeah, give me
You
one.
sure?
Yes,
Open
yes.
it up. Open it up.
All right, here you go. Here's your pretzel.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
How? Teach me. That's awesome.
Magic.
That's so cool.
We planned in advance. No, it was magic.
Very cool.
Okay. Then you can
Very magical.
you can send things through the internet. Physical
Of course you
objects now. It's a new technology. That's what we're selling to you right now. Too bad we don't have the viewers for it.
Now,
We need to get some sponsors, man.
next week's analytics, that is going to be replayed over and over.
It's a picture of my face just going.
How did it happen? All right, I'll pull up my dad's comment before I ask the next question. People tend to want to protect themselves from anything that challenges their belief systems. Fear puts up barriers. 100%. Absolutely.
Could not say it any better.
Including my dad. Sorry, no, I have arguments with my dad about stuff like that. I've tried to convince him of different things.
I mean, we all do, so yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. Fear is a big blocker. That's one of the reasons why one of my favorite improv tenets is follow the fear. Like that's one of my driving forces. It's like, what am I afraid of? Like, no, I'm gonna lead into it and kind of do that thing. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I know that there's a very famous quote that I like about fear. It's I believe it's from Dune, where they call it "Fear is the mind killer" or something. And I just think that's so appropriate.
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel like anything that you feel would be good for you, but you're scared of, is the right thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're scared of something and you could benefit from, like a very common example is like skydiving or bungee jumping. Like there's so many benefits from it that is absolutely terrifying, but
right.
most people don't take the jump.
Yeah, no, it's going back to what I said. So like in the beginning of my stream, I talked about how I had other conversations with Lee after he ghosted me. That was a result of me following it, the fear. I was like, I was afraid of, going to see him again to try and get answers, but and having him like run away from me because he clearly didn't want to talk to me. But I was like, no, I need to talk to him to get some answers for myself, regardless of what happens. Even if he runs away from me, that's still an answer. So yeah, I was like, I'm gonna have to follow this fear and go after it. And like the first chance that I actually had to talk to him, I was like, I was terrified to come. Like I told him I was terrified to come back and talk to you, but I still did it, right? Because that's how much he meant to me and how much I needed kind of better closure than just ghosting. Anyway, my dad says I have fears too. Of course I do. I'm like, I'm not denying that. I just talk about that stuff.
I want to know what Frank's fears are. That's what I want to know.
And he says, Jesus Christ saying, take up your cross is looking at fears. And then he also previously said that he agrees with Jay Peterson being Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
We need free speech. I think I've seen some stuff that he's done. Isn't he? He's a conservative person, though, right?
Yes and no. I mean, like he's an incredible academic, and he goes around speaking to a lot of college campuses and news organizations. I wouldn't say he's conservative because, I mean, for me myself, I'm not conservative. I like to think I'm more towards the left centrist kind of thing. But he's just very, very good at breaking down arguments and just explaining things very concisely. So if you get a chance, like watch it, because there was one video I liked by him where he talks about overcoming not just your fears, but overcoming things that make you emotional. And he himself breaks down on camera this really stoic, like, kind of guy. So if you do get a chance, just look him up on YouTube.
Oh no, I have seen some of the stuff that he's done, and he has made some valid points. It's just been a while since I've seen like much of him, and I think I shy away from watching his stuff because I have it in my mind that he is a conservative, kind of person, and I live in a bubble, and I prefer to keep my leftist views.
Because we do all live in the bubbles that we put ourselves in, but also I don't think that there's anything wrong with being conservative, because I don't think that conservatism and republicanism are the same.
It's not the same. It's just the
not anymore. Yeah.
My main concern is when it crosses into the disrespecting people of particular backgrounds. That's my main thing.
I feel like
I think it's tricky because go on. No, I think it's tricky where people will just tend to put others down just to put a point across. Because like for example, if you have your own beliefs, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's part of your right, and you can express it, but not to the point where you put other people down because of it.
100%. And there are people on the left who do that as well, and I dislike them for doing it too.
Yeah, of
Like,
course, yeah.
you're not going to change anyone's minds by doing that. You're going to change, if you want to change their minds, you need to meet them where they are. That's just where it's like, have you ever changed your mind because somebody bullied you into it? No.
No, I mean, like, it's the old adage, isn't it? It's like it's the way that, like, I remember, like, my one of my friends expressed it to me. Okay, so, like, imagine if you're in an art gallery and someone goes, "Whatever you do, do not think of the color blue. Blue, don't think about it. I mean it. Don't think about the color blue. Whatever happens, just what are you going to be thinking about the rest of the day? Blue, 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 blue. So it's no different."
That's right. All right. My dad says, good on me for facing my fears. Woo! He has, and he's answering your question, Mike. What are my dad's fears? He has a lot of fears. He suspects autism is very fear related. Yeah. I think autism kind of, when you grow up autistic, not knowing you're autistic, there's kind of like trauma associated with that, like, because you don't know that you're different, people expect you to behave in a particular way, and it kind of forces you to be more standoffish and not present your whole authentic self, because you know that you're not going to be accepted for being that authentic self. So like, this ties back to what I was saying in the beginning of the show, is like, I'm trying to be more showing up as my authentic self, and and this has been a lifetime journey for me of trying to not behave in a way that I there've been so many times that I've tried to behave in a particular way because I'm afraid of being judged, and I was like, but that's, I would rather be valued for who I am and scare off the people who don't like that than be accepted for somebody that I'm not. That's where I'm at with things. So what else did my dad say? He says, the shying away is a sign of our fear.
True.
And there is truth and there is fear. Fear is not real but believed. So this makes me go back to me thinking about my ex Lee again, with fear overtook his mind that prevented him from communicating with me about what was actually going on with me, and he just like let his fears get carried away of thinking that the time that I spent with him didn't mean anything to me. And I'm like, how could you have possibly thought that? Like, if I'm flying to Malaysia that many times to see you, why would I do that for someone that doesn't mean anything to me? Yeah. Even if I wasn't able to vocally express to him that I was in love with him, fear was holding me back from that. Like, if we're digging into that stuff, fear held me back from telling him how I felt about him, because I was afraid that he wasn't ready to hear it. I was afraid that he didn't feel the same way, and I didn't want to feel like I was pressuring him into saying it back or anything like that. Like, when I was first with him, I felt like I was in love with him for weeks before I finally told him that I was in love with him. And then when I spent those 10 days with him back in January of this year, the most I was able to say was remind him that I had fallen in love with him 10 years ago. But I still wasn't able to say, and I'm still in love with you now, right? Like, because fear was holding me back from that. So yeah.
What was that term that you brought up earlier in the show?
Limerence. My dad says we're similar. Yeah, where do you think I get it from, Dad?
Thanks, Dad.
Field block.
His yeah. My ex Lee is similar to you, Dad. Is that what you're saying, or are you saying that you and I are similar?
I think you're saying that history and beliefs. You two.
You too.
But he said his history and beliefs. So my ex Lee's history and beliefs. But I had a conversation with my dad, brief text back and forth with my dad about, like, he said something to me about him shutting down and being silent. I was like, maybe that's why I was attracted to Lee, because he does that. So maybe I was attracted to that because it was familiar to me because my dad is like that. But I was like, but I don't see that side of my dad. My dad is always very open with me and sometimes too open with me. So like, it's an interesting balance. So I was wondering about that kind of dynamic. Was I attracted to Lee because he reminded me of my dad? I hate the idea of that, but you know, all of the relationship kind of stuff that I see talks about how what we are attracted to is our parents. Like, you know, the dynamic that we have with our parents is what we look for in a romantic partner, because we are, you know, looking to kind of repeat that and improve it, or you know, prove our worth in that kind of situation. And we need to do better.
That's true. No, that's
Yeah.
true.
So my
Isn't
dad
that right, Brazos?
also says, my fears were a source of poor communication with my mum. Yeah.
That sounds like a common thing in
Yeah.
relationships.
Absolutely.
How's Brazos doing over there, Mike?
He wants attention, but he also wants to be independent. But he wants attention, but leave me
Let me guess. He's
alone.
like, love me, but not on camera.
Yeah, but kind of. Yeah, basically.
You want another question now?
Yes, please.
Sure.
We'll have another question. If we don't have any questions from the chat, which we don't, we still have 2 viewers, supposedly.
Hi, viewers.
I don't understand sometimes.
Hello.
The analytics tells me that there are not actually as many viewers as what it says that there are on Restream, but who knows? I think I'm also streaming to Twitch, so it's possible that they're watching on Twitch. But anyway, we'll see.
That's true.
I'll look at the analytics later. What is the most valuable lesson somebody has taught you?
Oh, this is a deep one.
It's hard to quantify most.
Yeah.
Because I know that, like, there have been so many different adults in my life growing up that have, you know, taught me that, like, the majority of it has come from my parents, sure. But I don't know, just, you know, role models and figures and like inspiration and good advice can come from anywhere. Even comic books. But yeah, I don't know. Most, if I take
This is
most out of it,
one example. For me, the one that comes up, and this is something that I've repeated a few times in various spaces, but I had a therapist a while back when I was still married who said, you know, I was complaining about my ex-husband complaining about me, and making me feel like I was not good enough as a wife or whatever, because I should be doing X, Y, and Z, like, you know, chores around the house or whatever. I think that's what I was talking about. And this therapist said to me, you know, words like that can't hurt you unless there's a part of you that believes it to be true. And that kind of led to me really reflecting on that. And so now I spend more time, you know, if I'm feeling hurt by a situation or something that somebody has said to me, then I will reflect and sit with it. Like, what is it about that is bothering me? Is it worth my worrying about it? How much do I actually care about this person's opinion also? And then if I do agree with them, then that's where I can work to make changes in my life. It's like, yes, I can make improvements here. If their words don't hold any weight, then I can just brush it off and let go of it.
I think it's tricky because it's usually not what the person says, it's who's the one saying it. Like if some random geezer comes up to you and goes, oh, you've got 3 legs. I don't like you. We're like, all right, dude, move on. But like if if for example your childhood best friend comes up to you and goes, oh, BTW, I heard that you were a murderer. You're awful, and I haven't murdered anyone. But like, yeah, but the fact that so and so forth has said that about you, you're gonna feel like shit. So it depends on who the message is coming from.
Absolutely. Yeah. But then you also need to think, what kind of place are they coming from? Are they coming from a place of they're intending to hurt me, or are they coming from a place of they want to maintain having a good relationship with me, but they just need me to kind of tweak this thing, and then we can still maintain having a good relationship? Because people we don't care about, we're not going to tell them about the things that bother us. The people we care about and want to keep in our lives, we will talk to them about what needs to change because we care about them, right?
True.
Agreed. What was the question again?
The most valuable lesson somebody taught you. I'll just pull up quickly my dad's comment to the previous thing. It's like, that could be Lee's history. That is the source of his fear. Yeah, he's got a lot of childhood trauma that he needs to deal with, and I don't know that he's ever going to process it. I know like a minuscule amount of it, and yeah, there's a lot he needs to work through. I wish I could have helped him with it, but you can't help people that don't want to be helped. You kind of have to wait for them. So, question. Valuable lesson. It doesn't have to be the most valuable. Something that has stuck with you that you've kind of taken to heart. And
I'm gonna say the childhood, like second grade, first grade thing that every teacher teaches, which is the golden rule: treat other people how you want to be treated. It was difficult for me to wrap my brain around that growing up. Because kids treat each other so terribly.
Horribly, yeah.
And so, like, what do you mean golden rule? That's not a thing. And then when you kind of get to high school, that's when you slowly start to realize, like, oh, maybe there's something here.
Mm-hmm.
And then definitely in my adult life, I don't know. I find that kindness is such a powerful tool, and it is mind-blowing that it is in such short supply, because it's free and it makes everybody feel great.
I like the more, I don't know what the term is, more advanced in a way version of that, which is treat other people the way they want to be treated. Because not everyone wants to be treated the way that you want to be treated.
Yes, exactly.
It's, the concept of love languages. I know there's some controversy around that, but like if you have a different love language and you show your love by having quality time with them, but the way that the other person receives love is that they want to receive acts of service, then they're not going to necessarily see that you're showing them love because they don't see it the same way. So
I think that's a better way to phrase that. But yes, 100% exactly right.
My dad has a comment again. Look at that. We need to understand words are metaphors and communication breakdown happens because histories don't match. This lesson is important from a communication textbook. 100% agree with that. When sometimes I get into a space where it's easier for me to make assumptions, and it takes me time to step back and be like, no, wait, what I need here is clarity, and I need to ask for clarity because I want understanding. I want to understand, and I want understanding in return. And so, but when you get into that assumptions headspace, it's a lot harder to get into that. Okay, and then I need clarity now. And if you're both doing it, then It's like, and nothing kind of works
And it's
out.
hard because the longer we're in relationships with people, the more shorthand we develop with them. So there's this inherent belief that because we have shorthand in so many different aspects of our relationship, well, that should translate to we just always understand each other. And when we don't, it is devastating because like, how could you not be on the same page as me? How could you not understand where I'm coming from when I say XYZ? But it's like your dad hit the nail right on the head, is that we have such vast differences in our history.
Right.
Open communication is not, you don't spend a year or 2 or 3 or 5 years developing your means of communication with each other. It's a lifetime pursuit. And it's when we get complacent, that's when the breakdown really starts to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I just
That's
go
very
back
good.
to the big misunderstanding that I had with Lee. Like he got in his head because of a Facebook post that I had made that I thought what I was communicating was, you know, I had the best time in Malaysia. Here I was having, you know, an experience of this life that I wanted to have. I wanted to have this life with him. And then suddenly I'm thrust back into the United States. My ex-husband was in a situation where he was staying in Australia. So my idea of the future that I thought that I could have with Lee was not going to be possible anymore as a result of my ex-husband's situation. And so I'm just like, oh, like so angry. I'm just like, man, I really wanted to have this future that I saw with him, and suddenly I'm like, I can't. And so I'm kind of expressing how much my time with him had meant to me because I really wanted that. And his interpretation with it, the reason he spiraled and got into his head about it, and then ignored my messages, didn't even read, I guess, or process the things that I tried to send him afterwards, was he had thought that everything that I'd said in that meant that the time that we spent together didn't mean anything to me. And I was like, how did you get that from what I said? But
That's
you
really
know,
sad.
that's why you need to not fake book on things. But you know, it did come after this really awkward conversation that we'd had at the airport, where I recognized that it was coming across as me breaking up with him. Not that that was what I wanted, but that's what I felt like I needed to do, because it didn't seem like he was going to be forthcoming with the commitment. And I'm like, I need to have some kind of expectation of, you know, that you see a future with me.
Stability.
Yeah, I needed that kind of stability, or at least needed to know that he wasn't going to be sleeping with other people. Like,
Fair.
we wasn't even able to have that conversation with him because, you know, I wanted at least that kind of commitment. Like I was having unprotected sex with him. I didn't want to have to worry about STDs. Like I wasn't. I had I have the implant in my arm that means I can't get pregnant. So I was like, it was fine. But like,
Nice.
to me, unprotected sex is a sign of intimacy. I would not have done that if it wasn't for the fact that I was in love with him, but I don't think I really clearly expressed that to him. So I don't know that he saw that in the same way that I did. And so it was difficult for me to kind of broach that topic with him. And then when he was shutting down of me trying to have that conversation with him, I just blurted out, you know, it feels like we want different things. And so, you know, it came across as this is a breakup, and it was not what I was trying to go for. I was trying to go for, can you give me some indication that you see a future with us? You know, so it's fears.
Sad.
got in the way. And, if he came to the conclusion that, in the time that he was not communicating with me, that we just weren't meant to be, then, I'm not going to fight for it if, that's not how you get a relationship. Like, I was done chasing. Like, I don't want to chase after people who don't want me in their life. So you just kind of have to find some path to acceptance, right? It's hard.
Yeah. It's easier said than done, but it's over time it does get better.
I'm only at the place I'm at now because I have been able to stop my addiction to checking his social media.
Good.
I'm like, thank goodness, like, because otherwise I'm sure I would still be a mess if I was still checking in on him. But I needed to stop, and it's helped me get through things. Talking about it helps as well.
Good.
Right, go back to a couple of my dad's comments here again. This is back to, so for example, if he says dog, that word brings up different pictures in everyone's mind. I'm sure it does.
As of today,
Mm.
the word dog makes me think of crypto, Superman's dog.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. And reverse the letters God or God brings up all sorts of either love or fear feelings. Yeah, there you go.
Fair.
There was a really dumb joke that, let's see if I can remember how this goes. What do you call... Oh, man. What is it? What do you call a... what's the condition? My mind is completely blanking right now. What's the condition called when someone can't fall asleep?
Insomnia?
Thank you. What do you call
Insomnia.
Man. Hold on.
Insomnia, Michael.
Wait. I'm gonna get it. It's
Narcolepsy.
4 o'clock in the morning, and my
The
brain is
opposite.
running at like a third speed right now.
You're fine.
What do you call a dyslexic? And now that this has come out of my mouth, this may not land well, but I'm committed.
Okay.
What do you call a dyslexic, agnostic insomniac?
I don't know what.
Someone who stays up day and night trying to contemplate if there really is a dog.
That's really good. I'm stealing that one. That's pretty good.
You
I'm
should.
gonna write it down to my phone. Yeah, that's pretty good.
After it took me like 20 minutes to think of the terms.
Look, it should be Schrodinger's dog instead of cat.
Yeah, exactly. Bazinga. Well
is it alive or is it dead? It's
Someone
both,
who
as long
stays
as
up,
you don't know.
well, I guess that would be maybe not a Freudian, but Schrodinger was a scientist, right? Like of social behavior.
He's a psychotherapist, wasn't he?
I'm actually. Who wants to look it up in there? For...
I'll do it.
I say next question.
Next question. Wait, did Sharad answer the valuable lesson one?
Yeah. Actually, hold on. Yeah, he was an Austrian and naturalized Irish physicist. So there you go.
Yeah, I thought it was a different kind of. Yeah, that's the same.
Do I look better with a piercing here?
There you go.
Or here?
You look like the fourth member of Blink 182.
All the small things.
I hate my life. I hate my mom.
Oh man.
All right, so
you want another pretzel?
Yes, please.
Here you go.
Thank you.
There you go. Where'd you get your pretzels from, Dominica? Did you make them yourself or did you buy them?
Make pretzels? No.
Yeah, how long
Oh.
have you had those pretzels, Dominica?
I just got them just now from Mike.
Oh yeah.
Ah, okay, okay.
Free, straight from New York.
There you go, nice.
Through the computer. Come on,
Yeah, why
gotta
not?
keep up the magic of it.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
fair
chips,
enough, fair
has
enough.
anyone ever tried these?
They look expensive.
They're not that expensive. I think they're like $1 to like $2 for a small little pack like this. They're just little snacking beans, and they're just so good. They're yummy.
Now I need product placement and
Yeah.
I know.
Right?
Hey, Brammy.
Yeah, Grammy.
Give
Yeah.
me money. We advertised your snack on the show to
Yeah.
viewers.
I think what we'll do is we'll get Mike to advertise everything, and then we'll just get the money in that way. So
We'll get Funko as a sponsor.
yeah,
There we
if you
go.
could, if you can get Funko Pops, that'd be great.
When I had my Lego background. His
Mhm.
Lego
I know,
was the
right?
sponsor. Or look, I got these wings and Halo from Amazon. We can get an Amazon as sponsor, right?
Yeah, why not?
No, they're gonna sponsor me. Very
Never
few
know.
viewers.
You miss
Um,
100% of the shots you don't take.
That's true.
Exactly.
That is very true. I try to remind myself that whenever I am afraid of doing something, which is why I flew back to Malaysia in May to try and reconnect with Lee again. No, I have to try, right?
Mhm.
Dumbass. No, I mean at least I got better closure than what I had previously. So
Yeah.
that was the whole thing. Yeah. Did you have an answer to the question for a valuable lesson, Sharad?
I'm just trying to think. The most valuable lesson is
Don't eat
probably
yellow snow.
don't knock it
That is
until you
something
try
I
it.
really wanted to do. So,
Well, the night's young, isn't it? Popping outside, find yourself some snow, and
oh.
just gobble it down. Yeah.
Okay, so like this is just making me think of
Gobble, gobble.
one of the people I like following on social media is this guy called Speech Prof, so speech professor, and he had a video that I watched recently where he was reacting to this weird guy who was talking about how he drinks his own piss, and he speech prof
As you
was
would,
like,
yeah.
the speech prof was like, and when did you stop? Like he kept saying, and when did you stop? It's like this guy still does, clearly, and thinks it's a good thing to do. I was like,
Wow.
some guys are so weird.
Wow.
And yet they wonder why they can't get women. I don't know.
Well,
I
Or
feel
yourself.
like one of those kinds of guys, right?
Gross.
well, you never know. Just if the guy invites you over for drinks, just don't go.
Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. Just go. Just say I've got something on my calendar. I can't quite come over today.
It's good, but it has a little asparagus overtone.
Ew. All right. Another
funny.
question. If you don't want to answer.
Sure.
What weren't you about to answer?
Or did you have an
And
answer?
then I cut you off for a joke.
No. No. You're fine. I don't really think I have one. I think that the best one I can, in terms of what lesson I learned, you mean, or what someone taught me, is that pretty much the good advice? Is pretty much never. I mean, I think the best one I've heard is. Oh, like yeah.
Sorry.
Is I think it's never assume what someone else. Yeah, never assume no one never eats the yellow snow. Oh god.
Sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
I'm
fine.
putting myself.
Never assume what somebody else is thinking.
Yeah, never assume what someone else is thinking because you never know what else is going through.
That is a very good lesson that I learned as a result. Like I keep talking about Lee, but like it's such a significant relationship that has had so much impact on me and taught me so many lessons. Even if, you know, he ultimately decided he couldn't have me in his life, I still learned so much. And that was one of those things, like I made assumptions here and I acted based on those assumptions instead of asking him directly, hey, do you see a future with us? I was like, I assumed he did not see me the same way, and we were looking for different things and acted based on that. Whereas now that I had those you know, final conversation with him and he talked to me about how I'd cut him deeply, I was like, yeah, you wouldn't have felt that strongly about it if I didn't mean as much to you as what you had meant to me. It's like, fuck, I clearly made a big mistake, but I can't, you know, there's no take backs, right? So
No
yeah,
take backs.
don't assume. Ask for clarity.
True.
If you are making assumptions, just ask for clarification before you act on those assumptions, at least.
Yeah.
You know, it's natural to have make assumptions, but don't act on them until you know for sure.
I think it's very interesting because did you guys notice that when we were younger, you'd always, especially in relationships or anything, you go in cool, you kind of play like you kind of know what you're doing, but you never ask questions, you never seek that middle ground. And then looking back at it now, you're just being like, why didn't we just talk about things? Like, why did we try to be cool and not assume anything and whatever? Just be open to go, okay, how do you feel about this? What should you do about that? And 9 times out of 10, that will resolve everything.
Because fear of rejection is such a powerful force. That's why. You know, if you really want the person to like you so much that you're afraid of saying the wrong thing and then they'll reject you, it's so hard to speak up and have those conversations. But, you know, relationships are built on those moments of having those hard conversations. And if a relationship cannot survive those hard conversations, that relationship was not meant to be.
Also, like in our adolescence, we're so focused on not caring because not caring is cool. Somehow we've all collectively decided that if you care about something, that makes you a nerd. And like caring too, and you know, obviously in relationships, caring too much that's definitely off-putting. But also in personal relationships, it's caring isn't cool somehow, some way. Like you have the kid in school who always does their homework and they're the straight A student. They care a lot about school and getting good grades. Nerd. Oh, I love music. I love playing in jazz band and marching band. Nerd.
Yeah, I've worried about caring too much and how that comes across, and so I will tone it back because I don't want to overwhelm another person, because like, you know, that's going to scare them off if I care too much. Like that was a big part of why I held back in my relationship with Lee, because I was like, I don't want him to be overwhelmed by me, because like my feelings for him were enormous. Like they wanted to rocket out of me, like all over the place, and I knew he was someone that could get overwhelmed, and I didn't want to overwhelm him. So I was like, but you know, I think he also had like overwhelming feelings sometimes that made it hard for him to express those things too. Like, it's when you have big feelings are scary. They're terrifying. One of the feelings I had with him, you know, he was being so caring towards me, and like I was tired one night. He brought me to bed and like was caring for me in a way that he had he described it to me as like, this is how my grandfather used to comfort me when I was a toddler or a baby or whatever it was he said. And I just felt so cared for. But in the moment, I was also like, the thing that crossed my mind was like, I don't deserve this. Like that, I was like, why is that crossing my mind? It was like, because of my history in other relationships, like I don't deserve to receive this kind of love and care. But I think it was also this fear that it wasn't going to last. Like I could have it in this moment, but this is a this moment thing. If he's not showing me, if he's not telling me that he sees a future with me, or that he's afraid, or if he doesn't think he's good enough for the kind of relationship that he wants to have, then I was terrified that I was receiving this thing that I wanted, but it wasn't going to last. That's scary. And how do you express that to the person that is giving you that? It's like, I love this thing that you're giving me so much, but it scares me because I'm afraid it's going to go away. How do you express that?
You don't.
and I didn't, and then it went away. So, but maybe if I had expressed like my fears, then he would have understood that it wasn't just him that was scared of things, right? Like I tried to play it cool. I tried to show like I'm a cool person. I can lay back. I can go with the flow. I can go at whatever pace that you're ready for.
But there's also that danger of like offsetting the status. Because again, if you show your cards as being, I'm putting myself out there as the person who cares too much, or maybe not too much, but as the person who cares more, seemingly, well, then there's that fear of that shift in status being very off-putting too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not right, it's not wrong, it's not good, it's not bad. It's just,
But at least then if he had rejected me afterwards, at least I would have known that I'd said everything that I
that's fair.
Felt.
Yeah.
You know?
That's fair.
There's that side of it. Yeah. We have 4 viewers apparently right now.
Ooh, yeah.
Please,
viewers,
if you feel compelled to, ask us a question that will hit right at our hearts and require us to break our souls.
Oh, God.
Make us get vulnerable.
Fruit sandwich. If you're still listening, give me a real gem. How's the Amazon package treating you?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Otherwise, wait, was there another question that I was going to ask from this card? Let's see. Oh yeah, so I have been talking about a significant relationship in my life. So there is a question on this card. Describe a significant relationship in your life. Okay, so Sia's got multiple questions for that one.
Easy, slam dunk.
Describe it though. Tell us more about your relationship. I know you shared some stuff with us, but what are some kind of reasons aside from the stuff that you've already shared with us that it is a significant relationship? Give us some juicy things.
Yeah, man, spill the tea.
Oh boy. It's significant to me because Kim is the only person I've ever dated who meets me where I'm at. She's never expected me to be different, to change, to see things the way she wants me to see them. She's always accepted me for who I am and where I'm at. And every single relationship I've ever been in before has never allowed me 100% of that. Or maybe 50%. I'd even dare say 90%. But there's always a sliver of who I am that isn't good enough or is distasteful to another party. Even if it's been with people that I have broken up with, I can identify that and I can say, you don't like blank about me. You're not willing to do the dirty work. Like, you still think that either A, you can fix me, or B, I'll grow out of it. Like, case in point, there was this woman, we weren't even dating. It's like we had been on 2 dates. We'd have makeout sessions from time to time, but like we never dated. And I just felt weird about it. I felt like we were in two very different stages of life. I felt like we wanted very different things. And so I went over to her place to break it off with her in person, because I figured that's the courteous thing to do. Do it in person, not
so
over
much
text.
better than ghosting.
So I went over to her place, and she's like, as soon as she opened the door, Mike, you're here. Oh, good. I'm so glad. And I'm like, oh, you need me for something. She had a job interview the next day, and she wanted my help picking out a dress. And I was like, oh, well, this clearly is the wrong time to break up with you.
Oh, no.
Or like, not break up, but like, break things up, whatever. So I spent like an hour at her place as she's like putting on like different dresses and, what do you think of this? And what do you think of this? And I'm like, all right, whatever. And so we finally settle on a dress. And I was sitting on the corner of her bed, and she lunges at me, and she's like, something to the effect of like, I like, this is so comfortable. I just enjoy like going through this stuff. Like, I feel like this is a really good exchange, but whatever. And she starts kissing me, and I'm like, oh, I kind of back off a little bit. This isn't as bad as hand on head. It's not that kind of situation. But I back off, and I'm like, look, I have to tell you, the reason I came over here was I don't think that whatever this is should continue. And her response was, like, she jumped off the bed. She could not get off the bed fast enough. And she was like, what are you talking about? We're not doing anything. And by the way, I would never date someone like you. You dress like a boy. You don't even dress like a man. You dress like a boy. So I wouldn't even date you anyway. And I was like, what the actual fuck? What?
Sure.
Wow.
Like, I'm trying to be respectful, and like I understand that maybe my timing in that moment may not have been the best. I get it. But like that defensive wall that went up in such like, you dress like a boy, you don't dress like a man, and I only want to date a man. I don't want to date a boy. I'm like, I'm a man child. I'm proud of who I am. I like the way that I dress.
That defense mechanism is really common in situations like that, though. I think I've been there. I've been on the other end of it. It's hard, but the way you describe your relationship with Kim is 100% like the ideal romantic relationship. In my mind, that's what I would like to have. That's what I tried to be for Lee, but I do think that he got the sense that I think there were probably parts of me that made him feel like he wasn't enough. I probably gave him that. I don't think that came completely from internally with him. I think part of it came from me holding back in some ways. Because it was a mutual kind of thing. Like, his behavior was making me hold back because I was afraid of him not feeling as strongly towards me, and so it kind of becomes a cyclical kind of situation. It just spirals, and where one of you needs to just speak up. What is it? Or or if you're living too far into the future, it's like, oh, things would be great if XYZ. Like, what I wanted was for him I essentially wanted him to move here, and I don't think that he was ready for that. I didn't need him to move here to be with me right away. I just wanted to at least know that it was something that he wanted to do, because if it wasn't, I didn't want to waste my time, right? As much as I enjoyed his company, I'm like, I'm not going to waste my time with somebody who doesn't see a future together. I'm like, I'm 41 now. I was 40 then when all of this was going down. I'm like, I don't, and like I think I said on a previous stream, like, my mum died when she was 50, so I've been living my life thinking that I'm going to die young. So I don't have a lot of time to waste to be thinking about this stuff. That's how I see. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about for you, Sharad?
Significant relationship does not have
I
to
don't
be a
know.
romantic partner.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I don't know. I think if it's tricky because probably the most significant thing I would say is probably I said not a romantic relationship, but maybe with my mother. Probably the most obvious thing because she was always like I was very much a mummy's boy growing up, even up until she passed. I was very much a mummy's boy, and but it was something that I kind of relished and I enjoyed. And one thing that my mother taught me was that you can always it's always good to aim for the stars and be passionate about what you do, but you have to do it all the way through and be kind while you're doing it. And not to say that you'll have a few stumbling blocks, you'll fall every now and then, you'll fall short of what you aim to do. But as long as you keep on doing it, and as long as you're happy, then just keep doing it because you're not hurting anyone else. And who knows? And the day that when all you can do is look in the mirror and be happy with what you see. And that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. It's interesting, Sharad. In my mind, your mum was the person I was thinking of that you would be probably your answer. So I love that I picked that.
Yeah. You're already out of the curve. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, like a lot of my friends and a lot of my girlfriends always be like, "Oh, you're such a mummy's boy." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I am." Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Like, I know with my mom, we had a very, very cool relationship. Like, at the time, I would openly drink and smoke in front of her. I remember one time we were at a bar with my friends, and I had a cigarette in my mouth. My mom, like, she smoked as well. She got a lighter out and she lit it for me, and all my friends were like, "This is so weird." But no, I mean, it's cool, and yeah, I mean, like the thing is, like, she was very, I mean, not to say that my mum wasn't perfect. She had her flaws, of course she did. She was human. But one thing I always strove to do, and I'm going to do more so even now that she's passed, is, every day you have to try and become that person that she knew that you could be. So it'll take time. It won't necessarily happen today, tomorrow, 10 years from now. But that's something that I'm going to strive for.
Goals.
I love that.
Yay!
No, that's beautiful though. That really
Yeah.
is truly beautiful. And I love it when we have those people in our lives that give us that just sense of goodness.
Yeah, the sense of warmth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Next question.
Wait, let me pull up this comment from my dad from ages ago. I didn't pull it up before because I assumed have company meant that he had company visiting, and so he was just basically saying goodbye.
Nice.
I don't think he's here anymore.
Bye, Frank.
But
Bye, Frank. Have fun.
I'm sure he'll come back and watch the rest of it later, both before and after he showed up. I actually finally had the conversation with my therapist it's Thursday today, yesterday, about my dad watching the streams and the kind of stuff that has been coming up for me. So someone's ringing.
Sharad, you as a visitor.
Yeah, don't worry. Like, my colleague's lettering in, so don't worry.
Did someone call Uncle?
No, you're fine. The cleaning lady's here at the office, so you're good.
Okay. I want to pull a card from a different deck now.
Let's do it.
Go for it.
Which one? Let's go back to the skip the small talk deck.
Skip the small talk.
This is I should have taken the lid off before it gets stuck on there right there. All right, let's see if I can do the shuffling trick, because this is slightly bigger cards, so maybe I can do the shuffling and see what pops. Oh, there we go. We've got a couple of cards that popped out for us. That's what the tarot readers do. Watch constantly. All right. The first one that popped out was, describe the kind of person you would like to be. What things are you already doing that are consistent with that version of yourself?
How would you answer that question, Brazos?
Yeah, Kitty, come on.
He's just giving me like the boiling coffee pot sound.
Yeah, the little side eye.
Describe the kind of person you would like to be. What things are you already doing that are consistent with that version of yourself?
I think I'll start off with this one. I think what I want to be is someone that's much more proactive rather than reactive. Like, you know, a lot of times we kind of sit back and things happen and, you know, we react, but rather, like, you know, we never really take the impetus to kind of not necessarily follow our dreams, but do, like, take the initiative and make things happen. And that's something that I'm going to try and hopefully try and change that about myself and make myself more of a go-getter and just make things happen. Because, as you know, as they always say, like, you know, nothing good happens unless you make them happen. So that's what I'm going to try and hopefully do.
Yeah, it's so hard to get started, but once you do, then it kind of becomes addictive.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Mike? Have any thoughts? I feel like I already answered this question at the top of the show.
I mean, very similar to Sharad. I feel like the concept of kindness is already embedded into a lot of how I try to operate and live, but also I have a lot of room for improvement, and there's some specificity in just the quality of person. So, like, case in point, last night I was at work at my other job, and this guy basically pulled a status card on me, and without going into specifics, I'll tell you guys off camera, but without going into specifics, he basically said, I am of this status, you owe me this, when it wasn't available for him. And he just went off the handle saying, like, that's it, I'm emailing your supervisor. Like what? Like, how is this my fault? Why are you making this my problem? And it just became like this deal. And it wasn't so much of like, it's been because he cited that this has been like a repeat problem for him. Okay, cool. That's the company's fault. That's the company. Why are you trying to pin this on me when it's a systemic issue? And so it was just that. It was that tone of, I get to get you in trouble, and you don't have a leg to stand on. You don't even get to defend yourself because I have more status than you do. And it was like, it really felt like I was, this is a terrible analogy, but it's what's coming to mind. It really felt like I was an abused dog in that situation, because like I couldn't get I couldn't do anything about it. I can't get out of this situation. I can't help myself. And it was just such a shitty position. So anyway, that made me some of the most irate I've ever been, Dominica, you've known me for a little while. Sharad, we've only like really known each other through this format.
Sure.
But I hope that in that time that, you know, we've all kind of known each other, that you would be able to glean that anger is not something that comes easily to me. And I almost, and no shit, I almost just lost it on this guy, both verbally and physically. I almost, like, I actually had to restrain myself from assaulting this human being. And it was like, how am I getting this level of angry? So it's stuff like that that, you know, I don't love that I am able to let, like, just stupid shit like that go. I mean, usually I do. 9 times out of 10 I do, but this was that one
We're
moment.
only human, aren't we?
Yeah, I couldn't contain it. And so the only outlet that I really had was, you know, I texted Kim and I told her like every detail of that whole thing, and my language was less than couth, but yeah. Anyway, so what am I doing to I hope that I'm just like am able to be aware of that. Like, I don't know if there's anything to do about it right now, but you know, just stay aware of those things.
Yeah.
No, good for you, man.
Recognize it. So
It just makes me think more about kind of back to kind of what I was saying at the beginning of the show, is like embracing those darker sides of yourselves, and still loving those sides of yourselves. Like, yes, there are parts of yourself that are like that and you maybe don't feel as lovable, but it's part of what makes you who you are.
Human. Yeah.
Right. And I think when we bottle up our anger is when we're more likely to explode when it gets too much, right? And so one of the things that has been a big thing for me this year has been actively making sure I take time to feel my feelings so I can live through them rather than keep them bottled up so that I'm eventually act out in a particular way. Now, sometimes it doesn't always work. I mean, that's probably part of why I ended up commenting on Lee's live stream, because like I was not able to express myself fully the way that I wanted to. And yeah, so just because I am able to feel my feelings some of the time, or as much as I can, sometimes as I said, I like some of my feelings are really overwhelming to me. One of the autistic traits that I have is like some of my feelings are just too big for me, and it takes me a really long time to get past things. And sometimes I just need to let it out in small doses, and then distract myself with something else, but eventually come back to it. So much processing time.
Yeah. But good for you for realizing that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I've learned what bad can happen when you do not express your feelings, and so that's my big takeaway from this year. Express myself more, be honest, upfront. The right people who are meant for you will show up for you, and embrace those people, embrace the people that want to show up for you. What else can you do? It's better than trying to convince people of your worth that do not want to make time for you.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Next question. I did have another one that popped out.
That's what she said.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. About time one of those came out. Okay. What are some open questions in your life right now? How are you going about answering them? or coping with having them unanswered?
What happens after we die?
That's a good one.
My dad died 6 years ago,
Uh-huh.
and ever since I've kind of been trying to metaphysically figure out. Side note, can you see this paw
Yes.
just sticking up in the
Yeah.
air right now? This is the
Yeah.
most adorable, cute little thing. Anyway, he's laying on his back, and he just wants me like scratching his belly. Anyway. But yeah, ever since my dad died, just trying to like, I am convinced that he didn't evaporate, that his essence actually went somewhere. So yeah, I mean, it's hard because there's all the stuff that we've been taught, right? You correct me, you grew up in the Catholic Church, right?
Yes.
So you grew up Catholic, I grew up Mormon, very similar. Like we have this idea as to what happens after we die, but I also reject this notion that, you know, there's that whole puffy white cloud and there's St. Peter at the gate, and that's just like, oh, you get to be a part of this exclusive party that we're throwing. Oh, you're not good enough to get into the exclusive party, so now you're going to fry for all eternity. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, like, I'm convinced that his essence, his spirit, his soul endures, based on a lot of like Mormon doctrine and stuff like that. I feel like I have kind of come to my own conclusions that there are, I feel like the afterlife is so much closer to the television show The Good Place than what we would give it credit for. Like, we'll always think of heaven as like we're always walking on clouds and we all wear white dresses and
Hi.
like what else is there, you know?
Right.
There's probably a light coming from somewhere, but like, that's heaven. Come on, there's got to be more than that. So I'm convinced that he's somewhere, and I'm convinced that there is some kind of a communication system between this life and the hereafter. That's about all the more I've figured out. I don't know. What was the second part of the question? What are we doing to...
How are you going about answering the questions or coping with having them unanswered? Let me actually pull the question up on the screen there for you.
I talk to people and I want to get their thoughts. I just got this book a few weeks ago by Deepak Chopra called Life After Death. I haven't delved into it yet, but you know, there's, just because I was brought up in a Judeo-Christian, like with a Judeo-Christian background, doesn't mean that that is what I am supposed to be beholden to. Like, is there truth? And if not, like, is there an absolute truth? You know, like, is Mormonism the truth? Is Catholicism the truth? Is being a Baptist the truth? And if there is an absolute truth, where is it? And if there isn't an absolute truth, what is the connective tissue between all of these different things, right? And trying to sort through all of it. I'm not necessarily coping without having an answer, because I feel like I'm asking the right questions. I hope I'm asking the right questions. And to be honest, there is a part of me that still feels maybe a little guilty. And this is the part that I haven't figured out yet. I don't know if I feel guilty for not blindly following the teachings of the Mormon Church, because I've put a I've put that on hiatus for now.
Mhm.
But I'm still open to it. You know, just because I'm not practicing it right now doesn't mean I'm done with it. Yeah, I don't like. Yeah, that's about as best as I can answer. I really want to know because I feel like, and I don't know if we'll ever have answers to that. I don't expect anyone ever will.
Until you die, then
Until
you'll
you
know.
die, and then
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, I
entirely
think.
possible that energy just snuffs out. Entirely possible.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Mhm.
But
But also,
energy can neither be created nor destroyed, so it has to go somewhere, right?
Right. Yeah, I think Mike's pretty much hit the nail on the head for a lot of people, including myself. Like, we wonder, we think about, is there some sort of greater reason why we're here? Is there something that's meant to happen after? I don't know. I like to think that there is, because even if we go by the mantra of energy cannot be destroyed but transferable, that kind of gives me hope. So you never know. I mean, it's one of the great adventures. I don't think we'll ever really truly understand as a species, because unless something incredible happens. But I'm hopeful. Like, hopefully we do get some closure at the end of the day. So I don't know.
Yeah. All right, before we have someone else answer, I'm going to pull up my dad is back. Look, my dad was
Frank's back.
responding to, so great insight, be yourself, was responding to a thing that I said before I asked this question, I think. And so the reason he popped out was because his physio was there.
Oh, good. Good
Mike,
work.
he rejects that party in heaven theory. Not having
Always
Right,
one.
it doesn't make sense.
Communication is heaven related, and
Yes.
God wants relationship. Scripture seems to say that over and over.
Cool.
Frank,
Yeah.
you've just kind of hit on something that is you've brought something to the forefront of my mind that I think was in the back for a long time, which is relationship with deity. Because again, I'm open to the concept of God. Maybe I'm not explaining myself right. Maybe I'm hyper focusing on something that doesn't need to be hyper focused on. Yes, I feel like I have had a pull recently. There's been a recurring pattern that I have recognized from this or that or whatever, that it seems like there is a relationship between me and deity that currently doesn't exist. That I've been feeling a little bit of a pull to. So thanks for giving me something to focus on, Frank.
I don't use the term God, but I use the term universe to basically encompass how other people view God. Universe is the term that I use to describe that kind of like otherworldly sort of push-pull in a particular direction. And I found myself just the other day, it was like directly speaking to the universe. I was like, what universe, tell me, like, what is it that you want me to be doing? Like, push me in the right direction. I'm not sure what lessons I'm supposed to be learning right now. Please tell me, what direction I should be going in, because I don't know what is my purpose right now. Please show me the signs. Like, because there have been so many cases in my history where things have just fallen into place for me, and they've just happened, and things have worked out the way that they clearly were supposed to. I didn't have a plan in place. I didn't know what my destination was going to be, but things fell into place to make it happen. Like me being able to go back to Malaysia, all the things, like that was something that I wanted. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but all the things that, you know, that needed to fall into place to make that happen did. And like, even now today, I'm like, the whole angel get up thing that I'm doing right now, I had no plan for this, right?
Hang on, that's a get up?
Yeah, no, I'm actually an angel. Like, this white
Yeah, I
dress,
thought so, yeah.
never owned a white dress before. I bought this white dress on my last trip to Malaysia. I was like drawn to it, like, oh, that looks nice. Randomly buy this dress. And like I said, using the pseudonym Angel to comment on my ex Lee's live stream, there was no thought behind that. That was just random. And then now it's like, but then there were like reasons that it became significant, and it's like, oh man, like how does these things just kind of fall into place in that way? So I'm hoping that like this stuff that I'm doing right now is part of that purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is. Like, I don't have like a huge number of viewers at this point, but if it leads to something great, if it doesn't, I'm still getting connection and value out of this. And this is clearly something that I need right now. And I'm glad and so grateful for the fact that you guys are invested and interested in this too, and that I've had other people who have wanted to get involved. I hope I can get more other people joining us in future streams as well. I just keep having you guys back because you keep saying yes and you keep wanting to be part of it. So I was like, I schedule with you guys and then I see if anyone else is available. That's how
I really enjoy this
it's
dynamic.
been going.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I like the energy of the three of us. I mean, I would love like welcome new energy as well, but I like I like this.
Yeah, me too.
Oh my goodness. Okay, my dad's left another few comments. I think I missed some. Let me scroll up. Hang on. Where's the scroll button? There we go. It's there. Oh, this part, I think. Seems three paths to me. The belief no God is possible but seems empty. I don't buy that. Second path, relationship counts that continues, but only glimpses.
Glimpses, that 7. Possible.
Sorry, he said you're welcome to making you think.
Thanks, Frank.
And third choice, hell, the state I am in when away from God. That's hell. Permanent, selfish, fearful energy. I create my own forever punishment.
Yes, I also agree with that.
Very true.
Yeah, I do believe we create our own unhappiness. You know, one of the I mean, sometimes it is out of our control, but you know, we can still make choices based on things that are within our control. So you know, I think back to, you know, some of the choices that Lee made. It was like, you say, you know, he's someone who has said that he wants to have, you know, a life partner kind of thing, but he acts in a way that pushes people away or doesn't do the work necessary to have that kind of relationship, right? So you're creating that life for yourself based on your mindset. You need to be able to shift your mindset to get to the place that you want to go. Otherwise, you're going to stay stuck in that place that you say that you don't want to be.
Agreed.
One more comment from my dad. C.S. Lewis, The Great Divorce, led me to this thinking over lots of reflection.
I'm not familiar with that book.
Me either.
Okay, interesting. All
right, Sharad, do you have an answer to this question? What are some open questions in your life right now? How are you going about answering them or coping with having them unanswered?
That's such a deep question.
That's the whole purpose of this live stream, Sharad. That's the purpose.
Yeah, I think I'm struggling with the idea of the notion that everything happens for a reason? Is there like some sort of path that's predestined for all of us, or are we all here like some cosmic accident and nothing matters? And so it's a very, very tricky existential kind of dread that you have. But I mean, it depends though, whichever perspective you look at things. Either if we are here by accident, that's beautiful in its own thing. Like you know how rare that is. Like that's the, you know it's a 1 in a billion chance, or even more than that happening. And even if there was a reason, like we want a predestination kind of thing, it makes us think like, oh, does that mean that we get what's coming to us at the end? I don't know. So that has been on my mind a lot recently. So yeah, I don't really know how I stand on that, but it has been weighing on my mind quite a bit. I don't know about you two, but yeah.
I don't know that everything happens for a reason, but I do have a strong feeling that a lot of things happen for a reason. And it's just in what you choose to do about it is where you find the meaning in it. And because if you don't learn the lessons that you're supposed to learn from whatever this thing that has cropped up, you are doomed to keep repeating the same things until you learn the lesson that you're supposed to learn from it.
Yeah.
It will keep coming back into your life until you learn the lesson. Or if you don't, then you're going to keep repeating the scenario over and over.
That's very, very fair.
I would, I'm kind of split. Well, maybe not split, but I'm more of the mind that, sure, not every, some things happen for a reason and some things don't. Like cancer. I don't think cancer happens for a reason. Not an intelligent, or not a reason that gives meaning or purpose to anything, right? It's just that's just DNA has a certain strands of DNA have a sequence that at some later stage in life, like this type of cancer is going to develop in you. Why? Because science.
No, so there might be a scientific reason, but there's not like a otherworldly reason.
Yeah. Cosmic reason, yeah, cosmic reason.
But then there's, you know, if you're talking cosmic reasons, you have the question of, well, let's say 9/11. That's a classic example. How did you let 9/11 happen? Well, who's saying they did? There's this whole concept of freedom of choice, you know, free will. 9/11 happened because bad people figured out how to play the system. But we're also not looking at the inverse of that question either, which is, why didn't you let Jimmy get hit by a car when he crossed the street? You know, it's you know, just because Jimmy crossed the street safely in a very matter-of-fact, mundane kind of a way, we don't pose that same question. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh. Oh, he could have died. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that I do think happens for a reason, but I think more stuff happens
by chance
because of cause and effect.
Yes. Yeah. Scientific reasons or political, socioeconomic reasons, and yeah. All right, my dad's left some extra comments here. So is what being in control is part of the distancing. I don't remember what was in response to.
Yeah, Frank, can you give us a little bit more to that?
The C.S. Lewis book is available online as audio and visual.
What's it called? The Great Divorce?
The Great Divorce, yeah. He agrees with what I said, that the lessons keep coming back.
Yes.
And Yeah, I mean, agree with what my dad says here. Cancer is partly stuffing feelings that we don't own. It builds up in body over time. The reason I say I agree with this is because I genuinely believe, and I mean, I have obviously have no science to back this up, but I do believe that the reason that my mum got cancer, she had pancreatic cancer. She died 6 weeks after her diagnosis, even though the doctors gave her 3 months. So that's how like fast it was. But the reason I believe that she got cancer was because she had so much trauma in her history and she stuffed her feelings. She did not she was not able to express her feelings very well. And now I could be wrong. Like maybe she had people that she spoke to about things that she was going through. My dad might be able to answer that better than me. I don't know if she ever had therapy for that sort of thing, but around me and my siblings, I never really got a sense of her emotional self. And that's, it's really hard to kind of it was really hard to get to know and understand emotions, I think, because of that. Maybe that's why I learned to stuff and kind of be closed off with some of my emotions, and I'm trying to be the other side of it now and be more expressive about my emotions. I've always tried to be more, not always, but like since learning that I'm autistic, and since starting to do improv and being given permission to show up as my authentic self doing improv and people enjoying me expressing my emotional self on stage was kind of the catalyst to give me more permission to be more expressive and be more emotional and sharing those feelings. Because prior to that, it was like, I mean, my ex-husband was afraid of some of my feelings, and that kind of shut me down a bit. So I need to be able to have that outlet, like and one of those reasons that I am is because as much as I've said, like, I think that I'm going to die young because my mom did, knowing that she died of cancer and had this history is part of why I try to do the opposite. Like, going back to that question that we had, I think it was last time or the time before, about what habits or behaviors from one of your parents or siblings that you try to not emulate. That's another one, that, I don't want to emulate that, not being expressive of my emotions, because I believe that my mum stuffing her emotions is what caused her cancer.
Do you believe, this sounds like a probing question, I guess in some ways it is, but do you believe that cancer comes from more sources than just suppression of emotions?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, but like, I mean, obviously, like, lung cancer comes from, smoking or, inhalation of chemicals or whatever. Some cancers come from specific, scientific sources, but
Sure.
my mum, I mean, pancreatic cancer is a cancer of the digestive system, right? Like, I don't think that my mum had a particularly bad diet to have caused something like that, right?
You didn't catch her just like chomping down some rat poison?
Not that day.
So it's one of those kinds of cancers that is not as obviously explainable as like what lung cancer is,
Sure.
or
side note,
cervical cancer, because there, see, you found it.
$10 on Amazon.
Or cervical cancer being caused by HPV, which is why you get pap smears. So I just recently had one. So it's on the mind.
A pap smear or HPV?
A pap smear, yeah. Fortunately, no HPV. I did have the HPV vaccine back in my early 20s when it was like just introduced. But it doesn't prevent all strains of HPV. But yeah, no HPV. So good thing my ex Lee did not give me anything.
Good. That's very good.
How about you, Dominica? Did you answer the question yet?
I didn't strictly, but before I do, let's pull up some more of my dad's comments, because otherwise it'll get too far from, and we won't remember what it was that he was responding to. So let's see. We've got the problem of pain is another issue for non-believers. Our control believes we have to do things, shows lack of faith in God and God's guidance. Our control belief. I don't quite understand. Showing feelings is honoring self. Feelings are only signs or symptoms to be noticed and learned from, not feared. I agree. But some of them are scary. Like being scared that you love too much. What are some open questions in my life right now?
Who ate the last Twix bar?
The ultimate question.
No. I guess the big one would be, what is my purpose? I think I've touched on this earlier today. Like, what is my purpose right now? I directly asked the universe, what is my purpose? What should I be doing? I don't know. Like, having too many options available to me, because I'm currently unemployed, like I just want somebody else to give me direction and tell me what should I be doing, because having too many options makes it difficult for me to know what path to follow.
Right.
So yeah, that's the big one. So my life's purpose currently, and tied into, and what should I be doing for work as a result of that.
Cool.
How am I coping about? How am I going about answering those questions and coping with having them unanswered? I'm not. I'm not, honestly. I am distracting myself and focusing on the things that I can control, like developing this live stream and making improvements to my YouTube channel in the hope that it becomes a thing. Because it's easier for me to focus on that. But it is at least allowing me to, like, I enjoy diving into the analytics, even if there aren't very many viewers, which shows me that I do still have an interest in data analytics, which is what I studied a few years back and was kind of working in tangentially in that field in my last job. So yeah,
Nice.
it's kind of related, but otherwise I'm just different ads for various things pop up in my social media feed. So like I got an ad for a job as a public safety dispatch for Berkeley Police Department, and I applied for that job.
Cool.
I applied for that job. It was like completely different from what I'd previously done, but I was like, maybe I would want to do something like that, because that would allow me to help people, and that is something that I enjoy doing, and that would make me feel more purposeful doing something like that compared to working at a finance company doing data analytics or something. Like, I have no interest in finance whatsoever, right? It might make me more money, but would I feel passionate about it? No. So so like trying to find little nuggets of signs of things that might be hints at what I could be doing, that might help me in the direction that I'm supposed to go, since I have no idea. But otherwise it's like, my therapist will straight up tell me, it's like, I don't like how you're dealing with your depression. Like, how is your sleep right now? How are you eating? And I was like, here's my honest response. She's like, yeah, I'm worried about your depression right now. You need to be on a more regular routine again. If you're staying up too late and napping in the morning because you have to get up, at an earlier time, and then you just go back to sleep because you're not getting enough sleep and you're not eating, or like I'm snacking a lot. So I clearly need to be making some different decisions in certain parts of my life.
That's how I feel about my physical therapy.
Yeah.
It ain't easy.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, like, what I have to do is easy. I just don't want to move from the sofa to the floor to stretch while I watch TV. I want to relax and watch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very much.
Exactly. I at least, I did yesterday when I did a significant amount of work with writing, fixing my resume for this particular company that I want to work for and writing a cover letter for it. I at least, and then sent it to my friend who works at that company for feedback. I at least after that point was like, now I feel like I can reward myself and sit down and watch this Netflix movie or this movie on Netflix that is leaving at the end of the month that my one of my other exes told me about. Like, he messaged me. I think I mentioned my ex in DC in the last stream. So this guy, he had messaged me about this film that was set in San Francisco, and I hadn't heard of it before. And I love watching films set in San Francisco, regardless. Like, I don't care how bad they are. I just want to watch the film set in San Francisco because I like recognizing the sights. And so finally I was like, now I can make time to watch this film, and I did. If you're
like
curious,
a reward based.
yeah, I like to reward myself after I do good work. So if you're curious, the movie was called Twisted, starring Ashley Judd, and
I love
Andy
Ashley Judd.
Garcia.
She's so hot.
Yeah,
I know of this movie. Haven't seen it, but I know of it.
I had not heard of it before, which was a surprise to me because, like, I actively sought out films that I hadn't even heard of set in San Francisco when I was a tour guide, so I could watch them and like find locations and then point them out on my tour to people. Even ridiculous films that most people hadn't seen or like hadn't heard of in some cases. One of my favorite films set in San Francisco is Heart and Souls, starring Robert Downey Jr., where he has 4 ghosts attached to him from his babyhood. And
yeah, that's a great one. That's a good film.
I love that film. I've saw it so many, that was one of those films that I had taped on the TV from the VCR and like would watch over and over again, like when I was a kid. And I checked it out from San Francisco Public Library, I think, while I was a tour guide, and rewatched it, and was finding all these locations that were like genuinely on my tours. And so I was like pointing out the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium, for example. We drove past that because that is the place that one of the ghosts sings at in the end of the film. And I was like, there's this, that was used in the film. At one point I had a passenger who's like really loved all of my like really obscure movie references, but then I've had other people who's like, I've never even heard of this. But, I think most of the time they enjoyed my enthusiasm, even if they hadn't heard of the film. It was just cool for them to see. And
then they went home and watched it and went.
Sometimes I had one person, like I talked about oh shoot, what was the Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery film?
The Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah. So when I talked about
you're bad. Only losers talk about that.
Okay, so there's this scene in it where they knock the cable car off of the tracks. Okay, and you can see the street signs of where this supposedly takes place. And so I went on and talked about how inaccurate that was possibly like to even make happen, right? That was something that I talked about on my tour. And like I had a passenger afterwards who was like, you talking about that makes me want to go home and watch that film again. So like, yes, that's how you do it.
You've done it.
So yeah, I'm such a movie nerd for that sort of thing.
I've only ever been to the Mrs. Doubtfire house. I've been to both Full House locations.
Have also.
I've been to that street from like there's that
Crooked
zigzag
Street, Lombard
that
Street.
one. That's in every movie from San Francisco.
What about the Palace of Fine Arts, which is also in pretty much every single movie, including the one I watched last night?
Maybe, I don't know, maybe.
I've listed off like 9+ films when I like sometimes. So our bus would always drive past it, but sometimes and we would stop there as well. If traffic was bad on the bridge, I could list off all of the films that I had seen that use the Palace of Fine Arts in it. But normally I did not have enough time to list them all off. So it's like, oh man. But it was a great way, like if there were times where I was stuck in traffic for a long time, it was a great way to go into detail about all of those films and the scenes and stuff as well. It was so funny. Anyway, anywhere else?
I am my focus is waning as we're rolling up on 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm starting to
go to bed, dude. Go to bed.
Our longest stream yet. Let's just finish up with my a couple of my dad's
yes, please, Frank.
Frank.
I already
Frank.
that one up. So did I read this one already? Oh, we already read that one. Oh, I read that one before. Yeah, I did. My mum was very health conscious because of her parents' early death. Yeah, see?
That's understandable.
That's why her diet, I don't think, could have been the cause of her pancreatic cancer. And she did stuff her feelings, yet thought she was transparent. A friend taught me that about thinking she was transparent. Yeah, my dad has talked to me about that before. And that, and I think this is I think my mum might have also been autistic with, thinking things like that. And I feel like this about in my relationship with Lee as well. Like, I thought I was being super obvious that I was in love with him even without saying it. He may have also felt that way about his behavior towards me, that it was obvious how he felt about me. He certainly showed me through his actions while I was there, but I needed that verbal confirmation of what was going on. So yeah. So yeah, my dad says she wasn't. He's empathetic but struggled. And thank you for listening to me too.
Well, thanks for commenting.
Yeah, thanks, Frank.
It adds to the conversation to know that our conversation matters as well. I appreciate that it's making a difference. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I guess we'll leave it there. I hope you've or anyone else watching after the fact, and like this is supposedly another viewer who's not commented. I hope you enjoyed.
You jerk.
If you're not already subscribed, what are you doing? Clearly you're sticking around and enjoying it if you're up to the very end of this video. Subscribe, hit the notify bell so that you can be notified when we go live next, because I don't have a set schedule for this thing. I check in with my friends to see when they're available, and then I schedule something. I don't know if we'll do something next week, since next week is Christmas.
And if you don't subscribe, I'm going to get the shredder.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's so cool.
Is that great?
That's awesome.
Leave us your comments as well. If you have answers to any of the questions that we've asked or any thoughts that have come up for you, leave us some comments. I would love to hear what you think about these things as well. And come back and ask us some questions in the future. If you want to come and watch us live, we would love to answer questions live. So I'm not just drawing cards from the decks that I have. As great as the questions are, we would love to have a little bit more interactivity with some audience as well. Like, and Mike, my dad says sleep well.
Thank you, Frank. I will.
Sleep well, sweet prince.
I take trazodone, melatonin, and ZQuil to help me sleep.
Oh gosh.
I've taken trazodone before as well. That really knocks you out. And I'm currently doing the melatonin thing. It does not keep me asleep as long as I need to be sometimes.
Well, the trazodone keeps me asleep, but the trazodone won't put me to sleep. So that's why I have to take the melatonin, because I noticed that like when I take all the other stuff and I forget the melatonin, I'm laying in bed just going, why am I not falling asleep? I never took the melatonin.
Yeah. There you go. Take some melatonin if you have trouble falling asleep.
There was I will end on this note. There was a period in my life where, because again, like crossing time zones all the time really messes with your sleep. So there was a point in time where I was taking 3 Ambien and 2 NyQuil every night just so I could sleep. And it got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I need to get off of this, because one of these days I'm not going to wake up.
Yeah, that's a real fear to have.
Yeah.
It kind of freaks me out.
At least you were able to wake up to that.
Yeah.
See, here we go, learning our lessons and then teaching them to other people.
What if this is me not waking up?
Oh no!
Hey, at least I got Kim to keep me company.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. All right, I will post it. You need to follow my YouTube channel. I do get the events up on YouTube in advance, so people can see when we're planning on streaming again. So even if I don't announce it, it's up there in advance. So check in on my YouTube channel. And
otherwise, the shredder will be coming for you.
And from this side, a sentinel. Ooh, are you a mutant?
Cool. Wait, that's the Lego Sentinel. Wait, do you have the X Mansion?
Yeah, I started building it on my stream
cool.
2 nights ago. But now with my MacBook broken, I may have to hold off until I can get it fixed, because I need my 2 computers to do the Lego building when I'm streaming.
Right. Well, yeah. Show us it when you're done, so we can enjoy and bask in its glory.
Yeah, yes, you wanna also see Xavier and Wolverine on a motorbike?
That's cool. That's so cool.
The Wolverine one's cool, but Xavier in his wheelchair, that's rad.
That's the G. Yeah, that's awesome.
So there we go, cross-promoting my other streams. It's on the same channel. You'll get notified for all of them if you hit the notify bell. Just tune in for whatever it is that you're interested in, though. But I usually have guests on those streams as well. They're just not always as deep and meaningful conversations. Sometimes, but I'm also sidetracked building Lego while I have those conversations. So that's what happens. All right, until next time. Hope to see you again.
And don't forget to pick up the book mouse at your local bookstore or online.
Or genderqueer.